Hello, I'm Eugene Marshall, and this is Sigil Spotlight. We are a diverse community of tabletop industry creators, spotlighting each other's work each session. Now, this session, we're featuring a 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons adventure titled Helping Hands, written by yours truly. This is part of my recent Kickstarter, Ancestry and Culture, an alternative to race in 5th edition. Several of our characters today are also custom. We have Ish's Apothecary class returning, and the Apothecary can be found in 5th edition horror on DriveThruRPG. We have the Cat Burglar, a Tabaxi rogue subclass written by Jessica Marcrum, which is available by that title on the DM's Guild. So that is what we're featuring today, and I'm excited to see those characters in action in this adventure, as well as to see first a new character from Gilbert, Milo, the halfling, that we'll meet in a minute, as well as the return of my favorite disguised furbog, Sildaris. Before we begin, I'd like to thank Sigil Entertainment for supporting the stream and providing our graphics and overlays, Roll20 for providing us this virtual tabletop, and Wizards of the Coast for making today's fun possible. And to make sure it stays fun, we are employing safety tools, so thanks to Bree Bo Sheldon, Lauren Bryant Monk, Kiana Shaw, and Monty Cook Games for providing those tools for us. In the show notes below the Twitch stream is a panel which includes both links to our various products we're featuring today, as well as those safety tools. So let's go ahead and get to know our players and characters. As I said, I'm Eugene Marshall, half of Arcanist Press and lead writer for Sigil Entertainment. My pronouns are he or they, them, either. I'll be the GM today. So how about we go around and meet the players. First, introduce yourself, please. Pronouns, if what you do in the world of tabletop gaming, and that includes, I might add, if you have something that is coming out soon that you want to draw people attention to. I think Connor does, for example. But so go ahead and let's hear from you. And then if you could remind us who your characters are going to be this week. Go ahead, Ish.
Yes. My name is Ismael Alvarez, aka Ish. I'm also known as Elven Wizard King or King Lorathorn on various social medias. And my pronouns are he, him. And I do a lot of role-playing writing. Most recently, I put out a product called Simple Settings Fairy Tales, which just came out 2 days ago, and I'm very excited about it. So check that out on DriveThruRPG. And as for my character, I am playing, once again, reprising Anthemina Dior, who is a female apothecary, which is a class that I created myself, and human, if you'd like to know. But yeah, there you go. She's just a no-nonsense kind of investigator woman.
Fantastic. Let's see if there's opportunities for her to investigate today. There may be. Jessica.
Hi, I'm Jessica Marcrum. You might see me down in the chat as Angry Nerd Girl. And I publish games, adventures, and supplements. In real life, I'm a social worker and trauma therapist. But yeah, I have stuff on the DM's Guild, DriveThruRPG, and Itch, as well as streaming games from my channel, Angry Nerd Girl, and here and on the Onyx Paths channel. So I like doing that. And today, my pronouns are she, her. I will get better about this as we go along. And today I am playing Shadowpaw of the Clattering Sea, a Tabaxi subclass that I wrote. I'm working with David Markiski and Kat Evans to do Tabaxi subclasses for every class that you can play in D&D, and we are about halfway there. So get ready to see me play a lot of cats, because I want you to see them all. So yes, this is the rogue, the Cat Burglar, and Shadowpaw is also she, her.
Fantastic. Let's meet Gilbert. Would you like to tell us about your character and yourself first?
Hey, I'm Gilbert S. I'm a new designer. Not a lot released, but working on many projects as for future. I will be playing, I'm a he, him pronouns. I will be playing Milo, which is a halfling barbarian with a 1 level in fighter. I like to play oddball characters, and Milo is a former gladiator in the sewers who spent his days fighting rats and is now looking for glory out there in the wide world. I like to play things that just hit things because it's not that complicated.
Well, there may or may not be opportunities to do so today. We'll find out. Connor. Oh, muted.
Of course, I run into that first thing. Oh, every time. I'll get used to this. I promise. I'm so used to face. My name is Connor Self. I am a counselor by day and a Adventures League creator by evening. If you go to physical events in America's Midwest, you probably recognize me. I have a number of Adventures League adventures published for Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. We just released a new trilogy that I edited and co-wrote one of them, the Children of Sin trilogy. If you enjoy horror, then this might be a great set of adventures for you. It plays off a lot of the familiar ideas that you see across the horror movie genre. You can find those by going to bit.ly/Children of Sin, capitalized each letter on the word. You can follow me at John Connor Self. The cool thing that I'm going to be playing today, for me, I use he, him pronouns. I politely ask that you use those. Today I'm going to be playing Sildaris. It's the same character as I played last week, presents as a lanky boy, late teen of perhaps Scandinavian descent, with an accent, very gentle eyes, and a loving demeanor. So that's who I will be today. Secretly a furbolg in disguise.
That's right. Our secret furbolg. All right, let's see. Close that. All right. So before we begin, I just wanted to draw your attention to the art that's on this other half of the screen. I've put this up just to highlight a few of Sigil's artists. Since this stream is sponsored by Sigil Entertainment, a few of their artists have contributed work to Ancestry and Culture, the publication that includes today's adventure. On I guess the right, as you're looking at the screen, is the color image of that is an orc, a woman of orc and elvish ancestry who is knighting. I believe that's a woman of halfling ancestry but raised dwarvish, and standing nearby is a woman of a tiefling and halfling mixed ancestry, and a dwarf man stands nearby. On the left, you see two images, so that one is by Bad Moon Studios, the color image, and they're fantastic. Bad Moon Studios, I believe they do a lot of work for Sigil.
They're gorgeous.
Yeah, it's really wonderful. On the left, the black and white line drawings are from Talon Dunning. His work is also fantastic. A lot of the interiors of the book is from him and Bien Flores. So we have an individual of that is actually an elven and dragonborn mixed individual marrying a gnome, a half gnome, half human woman. And then below you see an orc raised in elvish culture with a half dwarf, and in the background is another tiefling halfling rogue fighting a skeleton there. So Talon Dunning and Bad Moon Studios. All right, so we are going to go ahead and begin our adventure. I will transition over here. We've got our character names now. The adventure today is called Helping Hands. So the hook of this adventure, if you will, is that you, Anthamina, Sildaris, Milo, and Shadowpaw are already adventurers out looking for excitement and adventure for whatever reasons you might prefer, glory, money, to advance the good, to grow, to build knowledge, to look for an opportunity to hit things, perhaps. All of the above are good reasons, perhaps, to adventure together. And you have heard. You have been traveling, and you have heard that there's a town nearby called Greenglade, and you are heading in that direction. You arrive either perhaps looking for coin, or maybe you have family or a friend here, and you're stopping in to visit. Whatever the adventure is, or whatever the reason is for you joining this adventure, you arrive in Greenglade at dusk. It is a lovely arboreal elven town. delicate wooden buildings built into and around the forest trees. At its center is a village green surrounded by its core buildings, a town hall, an inn, a temple. Homes huddle in successive circles, rings around it. The outer wings are kind of amidst the trees. That night, you retire at the village inn. Whatever plans you have are going to have to wait for the morning because you arrived late. That night now, shouting awakens you at the inn at the center of the town of Greenglade, and a strange orange glow flickers through your window. It is a forest fire. Townsfolk rally to evacuate the outer buildings as a conflagration roars towards the town through the dry branches of the surrounding wood. The innkeeper barges into your rooms and shouts, "The outer town is already in flames. We need all the hands we can get to dig a fire break. Please help us." As you head outside, you see a wall of flame devouring the outer ring of homes headed towards the center of the town. Townsfolk struggle to chop down trees and dig a trench to form a fire break. Animals and children run about in panic. Several people struggle to breathe because of the thick smoke that fills the air, and a man is trapped atop a stone well already surrounded by fire. What would you like to do? Let's start with Anthemina. So just to recap, because that was a lot, there's a fire. Some things that look like they need doing are some people are asking for help digging a fire break. So they're just digging a ditch. But you can help them either by digging a ditch or perhaps by trying to help them dig it in the right place, that sort of thing. You can help with the children who are upset. You can help with the animals that are disturbed. There is a man who's trapped on top of a stone well that's already going to be surrounded by fire. So you could try to jump to that individual and save them. There are other sorts of things you might consider doing if you want to be creative. Are there any questions before we begin about that?
Not as yet. But I would like to go and try and save the men on top of the well.
All right.
Damn, that's what I was going to do. One thing I could do.
Oh, there's also, I forgot, there are some people who are having smoke inhalation, so you can also help treat them as well as another option. So if you'd like to help the trapped man, what you're going to have to do is make a kind of a leap, right, to clear the flames and land on top of the stone well. It's only, 10 feet, so a good run ought to be able to clear it. I'll ask for a roll for that. If you both want to do it, you can. If one wants to help the other, that's also an option by giving them a kind of alley, what do you call that, a boost. Mm-hmm. It's up to you.
Actually, if I see, I'm assuming we all know each other at this point, right?
Yeah, you've been traveling for some time together.
Yeah, so I would say if we knew each other and I saw Shadowpaw already on her way, I would then offer to give the alley-oop because I'm not as good at the physical stuff.
Shadowpaw's pretty comfy up high.
All right, so what I'll need from Shadowpaw is so to just make a plain old jump, I'll take a strength athletics check. If you'd like to do you'll have to describe in what way you jump acrobatically.
So he's on top of a well?
So yeah, imagine a stone well that it's a stone circle and then there's a stone kind of eave above it. And he's standing on, he's like gripping the top of it. And the fire is like 4 feet tall. The dry grass around is a flame. So you'll kind of be leaping through the tops of the flame onto the side of the well and trying to usher him to jump back.
Are there any buildings around?
No, there is a tree partially on fire that you could clamber up, though that, you'll have to be quick about it because
my aim was to do a run and parkour.
I think you could do that. Yeah. You could run towards the tree, take a few steps up it, and spring off of it over the flames.
Yes, that was my plan. And that is how I will acrobatically clamber like a kitty. Right. So that combined with my claws and my climbing, I think I should be able to parkour my way up there.
Parkour. Oh, the props. Okay. I am, just everybody can see. That's the Cat Burglar here at work. Go ahead and make that acrobatics roll.
Yeah.
23. Yes.
Very nice.
All right. So go ahead and describe how you get over there and what you do when you arrive.
Yeah. So I kind of run up to the tree, do a jump onto it and do a turnaround. That thing that cats do when they get the zoomies, and run, grab, zoom up that way, and then kind of clamber up to the top of the well and get up there and go, you should get down. Would you like help to get down?
Yeah, oh my god. The fire, though, I'm afraid to jump, he says. Will you help?
What if I have rope, or I can throw you down, but I'm not very strong. Would you like some rope down?
If that will help, yes. I'm afraid. He starts coughing. The smoke, it's hot here. You can't stay here long.
Okay. I just kind of look at him in the eyes and go, don't be that.
So if you're trying to get him to jump, go ahead and make a persuasion or intimidation check, depending on the intent there.
I am exactly as terrible at both of those.
Okay.
So I will try and persuade him.
All right. Well,
oh my gosh!
He kind of gathers his courage. He looks and then leaps. Now, the good news is you're already like 8 feet up off the air. And so he really only needs to just fall like 8 feet forward, and he'll most likely, as long as he doesn't fall directly straight down, he should clear the fire. And in fact, he does. So you gave him enough courage to just jump, and he kind of tumbles into the soft earth just beyond the edge of the fire, where several of his fellow villagers, townsfolk, are trying to like keep the fire back, right? Okay. And so he tumbles into the kind of soot and dirt, and looks up to see gratefully that he's survived. And he kind of stands up and kind of starts backing away from the plane, saying, "Thank you, come." And it's your turn. Go ahead and make an athletics check. This one's
acrobatics check.
Let's just make it. I think this one's just a straight athletics check. It's, as I said, it's mostly a feature of you have advantage. I'll say on this because you're jumping off. You have the height here.
It's not doing it. Roll 20 is being slow.
Is it? Roll 20, how dare you? Well, there's so many people love Roll 20. So
there we go.
It's good that you had advantage.
It did it twice.
The first one is what we'll take, but it's good that you had advantage.
Yeah, it is.
Because you would have fallen face first into some fire and singed your tabaxi fur. But luckily, you leap from the roof of the well and land on your feet, apropos a cat burglar. And have saved this individual. Now let's switch to let's see, Sildaris.
Thank you, my paws.
So Anthamina and Shadowpaw have just in fact, Anthamina, you probably were there to catch the jumping first villager, and then maybe help Shadowpaw up as well. Sildaris, what are you doing?
All right. Well, I see an area that I might be able to help. So I'm going to look around. I want to look for two things. I'd like to look for the safest means of escape for the children. And then once I've identified a way that looks the safest, where the children would be able to do it maybe by themselves, if they knew which way to go, I want to try to wrangle down any of the town's shepherd dogs, any of the working dogs. I want to eye some of them.
All right. So just to be clear, the fire is coming from one side of the town. So the whole town is the rest of the town to the other side is still safe, and so everybody, if they want to get away from the fire, would just can just go in the other direction. But the people who are remaining are trying to save the center of town and the kind of old buildings and stuff. So the children can very easily just be sent in the other direction. So, for example, to that there's like a pond in that direction. You could send them in that way. You could tell them to go wait by the pond. Where there's water there, there's not tree cover, so they would be safe from the fire, even if it got out of control somehow. So that's but the issue is, the challenge there is not getting them safe. It's wrangling them because they're all running around kind of chaotically. So it's like animal handling, but for children.
I know it well. There are ways for me to do this myself, but I'm afraid that I need to be in a couple different places at the same time, and so it might be better to try to get somebody else to do this for me. So if the children would be safe if they went to the far side of town, perhaps closer to the pond, I believe I can get the town working dogs to do that job for me.
Excellent. So there are some running around.
And then I can help with the ditch digging, which is something I might be better at. So so I want to look for one that looks like it could potentially be an alpha.
Okay, go ahead and make let's make an animal handling check to see if you can identify. So what you've got, let me just describe more specifically. There's 6 pigs, 4 goats, and a cow that are milling about, kind of getting in everybody's way and being clearly agitated by the fire and everyone's activity. They have been either let out or escaped from pens that were probably closer to the fire. So they are, they've moved, the townsfolk have moved them into the village green for now, but they can't stay here. So you look around and you see there are 3 or 4 shepherding dogs that look as though they're kind of waiting for something to do. They're not sure what their job is in this situation. They haven't been trained for fire handling. So I think I want to make a roll of wisdom animal handling, and we'll see if you can't wrangle yourself an alpha.
Okay, so I will go up to them and get down close to the ground. I will put my eyes lower than the eyes of the alpha, and I'll look at it and then begin speaking to it. And one thing that, even though I'm glamored, would still come through is not that one, because that's the wrong one.
Yeah, that's the one that glamours you. This, yes.
This one. The one that allows me to speak with animals and they understand what I'm trying to tell them. So I'm going to look at them and say, okay, we got a situation and we need your help. All the children, all the cows, they're getting in the way. The man pups, they could die if they get too much of the smoke. They need to get away from the fire. Same about the cows. So here's what I need you to do. I need you to herd them away from the town toward the water. You know the water? And I'm going to point off in that direction.
Yeah. It go, seems to yip in affirmation, though it's hard to say. You speak to animals, but you don't fully understand them.
Right. I'm just going to read its body language to see if it sort of understands or if it doesn't. Dogs are pretty expressive that way.
Yeah. I mean, it looks attentive, like it's a dog waiting for a command.
Okay.
Like a work dog.
So herd them, yip them, nip them, and get them to go over to the pond and keep them there so that we can do the work here in town. You do that, I got a big juicy steak for you.
The tail starts wagging, and then the dog barks. The dog then starts barking, yipping, and nipping at the other dogs, and they run off. So you described animals, so let's see how successful this is, though. So go ahead and make that wisdom animal handling check to see how well they... And with advantage, absolutely, thanks to your speech of beast and leaf, as well as a few other things. 20. Well, you didn't need the advantage. You had it already. So that's very successful. So you watch as, let's say there was 3 dogs. You watch as 2 of the dogs beeline for the children and start kind of corralling them and like bumping them. And the children actually think this is a game. So they start kind of trying to chase the dogs around, and the dogs kind of lead them Pied Piper-like out of the village. The 3rd dog starts rounding up the animals, but there's like 10 animals, and they're 3 different kinds: dogs, or pigs, goats, and a cow. So it's not going to be able to do all of them by itself, but it's starting to. Right. So that's where that's at. That's the situation there.
That's a far better situation than the one that we were in, because the kids are safe. As big an animal lover as I am, I if I had to choose, I would try to save the kids first. But that does free me up to help where I might be better suited, which is helping to fell the lumber.
Fair.
And I think I could do it with a little bit more sensitivity than these humans. No offense, humans out there watching.
Absolutely.
Take my woodsman's axe, walk on over, go, and drag my axe over toward the trees to begin felling however many are needed.
All right, so go ahead and make a wisdom survival check, and that will allow you to identify the trees that are best to remove to clear, to make a fire break. Because if you just chop trees willy-nilly, that's not necessarily going to help. You need to chop trees in that will remove that doesn't allow the fire to jump across the canopy.
Waiting for the sound.
Yes. See, Roll20 is so popular now, thanks to all of us staying at home, that it struggles sometimes with the.
It's a great app.
It is, isn't it?
Did it work?
It did. It didn't work. It didn't work all that well in your favor, but it worked. You rolled. All right. So you're starting to chop trees down. So what I'll do is I'm going to come back to you, and I might ask for one more roll to see how this goes, because this is a situation, just to speak out of character, where basically everyone's going to get to declare 3 things they do, and then I will tally up how many are successful, and that determines how much of the village you're going to be able to rescue. And just to be clear, there's not really, except for the one man on top of the well, doesn't look like there's any people in danger here, or even animals. It's mostly about saving their homes, right? And so they want to save their homes, and so they're trying to build a fire break to save at least the second half, like that, middle of the town and the other side of it. Some people have already lost homes, unfortunately, but it doesn't look like anyone is physically in danger right now. All right, so let's go ahead and jump to Milo. What is Milo Underbow doing as this fire rages?
Milo has pulled up a what would be like a little drum, and he's trying to create sort of a rhythm for everybody to sort of follow through, so that they could, once you get a nice rhythm going, it actually helps the work go more smoothly. So he's sort of drumming in the sort of like a pattern, just to like get people to like hit at the right times, and giving a sort of steady flow and creating calmness amongst the workers who are very frazzled at this stage.
Yeah, absolutely. There's people chopping wood. There's people digging a ditch. So you can kind of build some sense of camaraderie, teamwork, and rhythm. I'll go ahead and make a performance check. Tell me how you feel about this being a dexterity performance check.
I'm okay with I actually am trained as a performer, so I've fought in wars where we've had to rally the cause, and I think I know how to rally these people into. All
right. So go ahead and just click on performance, and then we're going to add +2, because your dexterity is actually 2 higher than your charisma. I didn't know that when I called for that. It just felt like this isn't about putting on a performance that people are watching. It's about really belting out those rhythms in the music in a good rhythm, right?
I did hit the button.
Yeah, don't worry, everybody. Roll20 is just taking its time. It's being thoughtful for us today, right? It's really being considerate before it delivers its results. This isn't some flippant, superficial treatment. Okay, so we've got... All right, so it looks like on the first attempt, you drop your drum in the stress, and this is an unusual event, right? You're digging it out of your pouch, and it just tumbles onto the ground. Clunk, clunk, clatter. If you'd like to try again, you can pick it up, and then, because remember, you'll get to declare 3 things. So if you'd like to go ahead and use that second performance roll that popped in there, you can go ahead and kind of redouble your efforts and go ahead and deliver that. So it's 2 higher, so it's 19 actually. So as you do that, so at first the people digging, are distracted and chopping, and they're like, what? But then once you start putting the rhythm down, they are able to, trees start falling, the ditch starts getting dug faster, and it seems to be more productive. Okay, so we're going to wrap back around now. So the fire, so you've saved the man on the well. It looks like the children are handled. The animals are still kind of running around a bit. There's some people with smoke inhalation. The fire break efforts can be either you can guide them with advice, or you can contribute to them by chopping trees or digging ditches. What would you like to do? What would Shadowpaw like to do next?
Shadowpaw thinks this is a great time to rob a house.
Shadowpaw is a cat burglar, I might remind you all. Okay, well that is going to be pretty easy in this circumstance, given that everyone is out of their house. Well, it might be pretty easy. Everyone's out, so there's lots of eyes around, but everyone's distracted. Mm-hmm. So go ahead and that would be a stealth check to sneak in. But once you're in, it's a fair game. No sleight of hand checks are needed, and unless you try and steal like a large object or something.
No, she just thinks this is she's seeing everything running around. She sees those people with smoke inhalation and knows like Anthamina can handle that. She doesn't want to get her paws dirty with a ditch. She knows the animals don't really like her. It's not really her thing. And she's like, I've been granted a golden opportunity right now.
Fair enough. So go ahead and make a stealth roll to see if you can slip away without them noticing, without anyone seeing you enter a house, right? That's the idea.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of people around, but they are distracted, which makes it possible to do this.
Yeah, I'm waiting on roll 20. I did it. We'll just see what happens.
It builds suspense, don't you think?
I know.
Oh my. See? That was worth waiting for, wasn't it? Natural 20. All right. So go ahead and describe, heck, you know what? Within reason, describe not only how you do this, but what do you steal? You tell me.
So Shadowpaw from the roof. Oh no, she got down from the well.
Right.
So she just kind of clambers up and goes rooftop to rooftop like the Grinch and starts popping into houses that seem to be safer from the fire, grabbing what valuables, like money, of course, but also small trinkets because she has her appraisal skill. So she can see in a pretty short period of time like what is worthwhile that she can fence quickly. And because there's a fire, she knows that people won't really miss these things for a little while.
This is true. So just to be clear, that's the ability only the best, yes?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So that allows you to examine items and immediately and accurately determine their value, and allows you to fence them for higher costs depending on rolls made. All right. Well, you'll be fencing them right now, but you will be stealing them.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and
just
say
preparing.
Yeah. Let's see. The people of Greenglade are not especially wealthy, but they're not. This is not a incredibly impoverished city. So 2 or 3 gold per day is what your average skilled worker would make. So let's say. I will roll to see how much money you get. So let's say, I don't know. I like D4s. So let's say,
Okay.
just so because I can roll a lot of them. This is how much gold you get.
Okay.
Worth of items on your
Sweet.
appraisal. Of course, it's going to take a little while to throw all of these digital dice across the screen. There they are.
Of course.
All right, 24 gold worth
Okay.
of knickknacks. I mean, you don't. I'm imagining you're not spending time enough time literally, like tossing all of these homes, right, to find any special valuables they might have hidden.
Jumping in and out.
Yeah, grabbing things off the mantelpiece, the silver, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So you come
and
out.
then she would like to sneak out and be like, "What else can I help with? There's more to do."
So I think that will take 2 turns though to do that. That'll be.
Oh, okay.
So because you're sneaking, I'm assuming you're going to more than one house.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say you spend the next round or 2 stealing,
Okay.
and then emerge and see that the fire is continuing to be fought.
Okay.
Let's go to Anthamina. We've got someone with smoke inhalation. You could either guide or participate in the fire break efforts. There are some animals running around. What would you like to do?
Anthamina has a little bit of medical knowledge and would like to assist, whether it is through her spells or abilities that would allow her to do so. Let's see if I have spells.
So, I mean, you can do a medicine check to evaluate them, if that would help. And then I can tell you what...
And I do also have the guidance cantrip, so I'll both use that on myself and others as they're doing similar medical checks.
So do you have a special... Oh, wow. Well, you didn't need the guidance, but I'm curious to, if you, just for fun, for flavor, tell me what does it look like when the Apothecary uses the guidance cantrip? Because this is, I'm assuming, has this Apothecary flavor.
Anthamina has a special pouch that is colored differently than the other pouches, with a little tiny bit of like runes on there that basically say only for Anthamina, and it's a little snuff that she uses to kind of keep her sharp.
All right. So she taps a little snuff, and then you assess these people that are kind of coughing. It's there's 2 townsfolk that are suffering, and you can tell this is just mild smoke inhalation, maybe a minor burn. They'll be fine probably, but what they need to do is they need to get away from the smoke and sit down and kind of like breathe. Maybe have some clean water, that sort of thing. So you're able to calm them down, and you're able to direct them away from the smoke so that they can recover, and they should be fine if given that instruction.
Oh yes, so I will directly either help or instruct the health specialist to do so.
All right. So it looks like most of the other able-bodied individuals are digging ditches and chopping trees. There's a few other individuals around that are milling around chaotically, and a few of them are willing to kind of help these people with smoke inhalation they head towards the pond.
And Anthemina will like directly point at them and say, "You there? We need your help. You come over here, and you're going to help me do these things. This is going to happen now." That's basically the way she's dictating that things will proceed.
And then one of them's like, "Oh yes, miss, yes ma'am, miss ma'am." And
less
then
simmering, more action, please. Let's move on.
And then they do. Your immediate diagnosis and sharp command is very effective. Milo, what would you like to do in this situation? It looks like we've got animals running around and a fire break that needs to be built or guided or dug or chopped.
Milo, not being very strong himself for a barbarian, realizes that trying to do the physical things is going to be not the smartest use of his time. So he decides to chase down and wrangle animals haphazardly at that. So he's trying to capture animals that are capturable.
All right.
And then carry them. So imagine someone who's 4 foot tall carrying a dog and trying to take him down to the lake or something.
All right. So there's the one of the herding animals has already taken care of the goats. So you've got some pigs you can pick up. There is a single cow, so you have to choose pigs or cow.
I attempt to try to. The logical thing is to do the pigs, but Milo doesn't operate using logic, so he attempts to try to giddy up the cow by like mounting the cow and trying to be like, "Go cow, go."
All right, so go ahead. Let's make an animal handling check to see if you can spur the cow to action, guiding it to away from the flames.
The anticipation is really.
No, done.
I just got really excited. I saw that nat 20 and realized that it was from Anthemina.
Yeah, I know. That's that
I
one
was
was
like, damn, we're
Anthemina's.
getting those all over the place.
Yeah. So all right, and the cow goes
Moo.
moo.
Wait.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, roll 20. I need to come up with some flavor text here to add in whenever, because this is going to keep happening, Or, oh no. Okay. So
the cow
that honestly is the perfect roll.
I was going to say, please, Milo, describe how your attempt to guide the cow away fails in a dramatic fashion.
So Milo tries to climb the cow at first. Fails because he's clearly not able to like climb the cow. He tries to climb up the tail of the cow, which of course makes the cow very angry, and causes Milo to get kicked. On the third attempt, he finally is able to get a chair and then mount the cow, and then it says "giddy up," as if that will make the cow go. And Milo continues to kick, like tap the cow with the back of his heel, and the cow continues to not move as he sits there, trying to pretend that he knows exactly what he's doing.
All right. So Milo is unsuccessfully riding a rodeo over there, one halfling rodeo. Sildaris, you are chopping wood, so go ahead and make a wisdom survival check to see how well you do this time? Because unless you would like to stop and turn and, for example, help Milo with the cow, it's up to you.
So I'm worried that what I'm doing isn't really working. Like I'm trying to rationalize this myself, and that's not really Sildaris's way.
Sildaris is chopping down birch trees.
Yeah, like, and I'm trying to do it. And even from last week, you saw I always would reference, like, I'm looking at other people's faces to see what they're thinking or how they're feeling in the situation, to use that as some sort of guidance as to how I might act. And I'm not doing that right now, and it's just not working. So what I need is I need to start brainstorming with people that can help me. And it's obvious none of these people can help me. But the people that can help me, my people, are out there in the wood. So I'm going to heft my axe up over my shoulder, and I'm going to walk into the wood. And in the best, most eloquent speech I can muster, isn't really that awesome because Sildaris is so simple. I'll say, in the language of fairy, dryads, I entreat your help. Ancient trees of the wood, I entreat your help. The people of the town are going to die. They save you so much. They use you, yes, but you use them. They keep you safe from greater threats, and you provide them a home, and you contribute to the cycle. Well, they need your help now. Who amongst you will give of yourself so that the town may live, so that the people may live, and provide for your saplings? And then I'm just going to look around to see what trees volunteer themselves.
Make a persuasion check. And I like this creativity enough that I will say you can have advantage on it, because I didn't expect that. 13. All right. So, so are you trying to entreat the trees to walk with you, or for one of these trees, for example, that could contribute to the fire to fall over to serve as a fire break, or?
I don't know if ask the tree just to fall over, but I can ask the tree to rustle in the wind and let me know I volunteer myself as tribute. And those will be the trees that I'll take back to the fire break. I'll chop back.
So that makes sense. So you call out to the trees, and there's silence. You don't hear anything. And seconds pass, and more seconds pass, and more seconds pass. And then two of the trees you hear them creak as though the wind is blowing their branches, but you don't feel a breeze.
All right. So I'll walk up to the tree, place my hand on it, and whisper to it, "Thank you," and then begin my work there. That's where I'll take my work. I'll reference the trees and ask them which ones think they'll be best able.
Yeah, and the two that creak, you interpret that as being these are the ones volunteering out of the many trees around you. And indeed, your axe is quick and true. The wood seems to give quickly beneath your blows, and soon enough the tree is felled, and you can drag it back and use it in the fire break.
All right,
clearing this area where the fire won't be able to cross. Right.
I may appear to be a very lanky human of teen years, but appearances are deceiving, aren't they?
Yeah. So you all see this, right? You all see this skinny. I mean, the rest of you kind of. So you tell me, Sildaris, do your traveling companions know your true appearance?
I think they do. I think that we've known each other in the interests of honesty. I would let them know, but I'd let them know why I'm shy. People are afraid of things that they don't understand. And so I'm certainly, I believe Verbolgs might fall into that category, depending on where I'm going. Humans have very short lives. They don't see an awful lot. So I'll drag the trees, almost impossibly looking, back with me. I'll look a little sad. Maybe I'm crying because of the smoke, but that's not really it.
So you see the lanky seeming human dragging this huge tree or two behind him, and some of the townsfolk do the double take sort of thing, and you throw these on one side so that they can be used to kind of redirect the fire and so on. And is there, so let me see, has everyone gotten a chance to go at least a couple times? We're good? All right. So at this point, it looks like you have, so here's what's happened. You've saved most of the houses around the center of town and the rest of the town. The work with the fire break has helped. You have the children are calm and at peace away by the pond, as what is the people that were both in danger on the well and that had some smoke inhalation. Most of the animals seem accounted for, but unfortunately, at one point, the pigs ran off and were lost in the woods for now. They might turn up in a day or two, but for now, they have been gotten away from the village. The cow has just stood in the green the whole time, munching grass, ignoring Milo for the most part, and seems to be mostly unfazed, actually, because it's that you guys managed to keep the fire away from the center of town. But the rest of the work takes much of the rest of the night, making sure that the fire doesn't reignite and spread. It had been, you recall as the night goes on, a dry, kind of humid evening, and there had been thunder in the distance. And only finally, halfway through the night, did the clouds break and release rain, which helps extinguish the fire fully. You suspect, those of you who've spent some time in the woods, Sildaris in particular, it might have been a lightning strike that sparked the fire. That would be entirely normal, natural.
It would be natural, but this isn't natural. Obviously, it's the old gods looking out for the people that have settled here and kept in peace with the trees and the spirit.
They do seem to have come out not that much the worse for wear, though quite a few of them are now without homes for now, but no one seems to be badly injured. So you're able finally to retire for the night after many hours of labor. And the next morning, once the fire is out, you can see the full damage. The smell of smoke hangs in the air. It stings your eyes. The dawn light reveals a mile-wide swath of maybe not a few hundred yards, let's say, swath of burned and blackened forest to one side of the town. The ashen landscape includes, unfortunately, some of their crops and some of their homes. And it leads up to this makeshift ditch and kind of fire break that you guys had helped construct that protected the center of Green Glade. Many now homeless citizens gather here in the center of town, and the town elders approach you. Leading them is a graying elven woman who introduces herself as CNL of the Glade. And do I have a picture for her? I don't really, so we can just use, we'll just use her. So she's of Orc and Elvish ancestry, I suppose. And she approaches you and she says, we'd like to thank you for your assistance last night. Many homes were saved because of your efforts, and many people were upset and concerned, and you calmed and soothed them, the children, the elderly who had received some smoke inhalation. You saved many of our livestock. And of course there's, young Carson over there who you saved from the well. Thank you so much for that. We appreciate that. If it's not too much to ask, and we know it's a lot, but we would ask for further assistance. And we're willing to reward you for that assistance. We want to pay you for your time and labor. So we've made an assessment of the damage, and it looks like we will be, in the short term, in need of food and homes and clothing. So we were hoping that you could travel just to the 3 nearby villages. They're not far. Each of them is a few hours away, and we have good relations with all 3, and ask for some aid. If they could send supplies, that would be appreciated. The rest of us, we feel we would appreciate if you did that while we attend to our homes and helping our relatives, who no longer, some of which who no longer have lost their homes. So since if you're willing, we'd be delighted to pay you for that labor. Is that something you'd be willing to do? Excellent.
Antamina just sees the slow acquiescence of everyone else and just nods.
Yeah, Shadowpaw hears other villages and is like, fencing. Yes.
Yes, and there's also a cash reward for completing this trip. She says, well, there are 3 villages. So she says, and she kind of points in each direction. So, like, to the west lies Kirkusk. That's an Orcish village. To the north lies Thimblenotch. That's a Gnomish village, largely. And to the south is Edgefield. That is a largely halfling cultural village. So each of them have, Edgefield has food, Thimblenotch has clothing, and Kirkusk has lumber and carpenters. So if you could visit each of the 3, that would allow us to rebuild and at least make it through the coming, it's a long time till harvest still, and we've lost, unfortunately, we lost quite a bit of our crops and our food was stored in those barns over there. So if you're willing, she gives you directions, and it is your choice where you'd like to go first. You have Kirkusk, the Orcish village that can provide construction materials and builders. You have Thimblenotch, a Gnomish village known for its weavers, and you have Edgefield, a halfling village with ample farm lands. Which would you like to visit first?
Milo's brazenly says, "We're going to the Orcish village, right? Those are my people."
Is he a halfling?
Yes.
Okay, just checking.
He's like, yeah, those are my people. They're brave and strong and tough and exactly like me.
Anthamina just says, "It matters not where we go first, but we should make our way quickly."
Excellent.
Shadowpaw kind of just whips her tail back and forth.
So
It makes sense to build a home before you put clothing in it.
I will nod and I'll turn back to the woman that asked our help, and I say, we will go to the orc village first. Don't you worry. And I walk up and I give her a big hug. Don't worry, it will be okay. I promise. We all promise.
I join in that hug, but more from the leg.
So I guess CNL is at first surprised, but willing to give you a hug and back. But then, of course, she's also exceptionally surprised when she goes to hug your thin human form and meets resistance before she actually grabs what she sees of your body. And it's like, oh, yes, thank you. Wow, you're much larger than I thought.
I work out, and I'll go nervously, like eyes are kind of really big, and I sort of, I stand 6.5 feet tall and look like I'm standing 3.5 feet tall right now.
I say, are you going to say that about me as I look up at her?
Say, well, you are exactly as large as your great spirit. Obviously, look at you. I appreciate your efforts. I saw what you did last night. We appreciate it. That you calmed the cow amazingly. I'd never seen her that at peace. So thank you for that.
You're both very strong boys. We should probably go get some lumber. The accent is rubbing off on me.
So
I really need to stop doing that. I'm so stupid.
Hugs are never a bad idea. Well, I guess they can be, but
it's the language of the furbolg.
So, all right. So you head down it's just a road. You travel down. Now, if you'd like to, is there anything in particular you'd like to discuss amongst yourselves on your trip? I want to leave room for if the characters would like to speak to one another about their experiences. That's now would be a time, or we can fast forward to the village.
Milo says, here's the plan. These are my people. So we're going to walk in there. I'm going to challenge the chieftain to a one-on-one death battle. And if we win, we get the lumber. That's the way to handle orcs.
But if you challenge him... Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
If you challenge him to a death battle, will you not need to then be the new chieftain?
Yes, but then I can request as much lumber as we need.
That seems presumptuous. I think maybe some orcs are like that, but not all orcs. Hashtag. I think
someone read it to me in a book. I thought this is exactly how orcs operate.
I've been around some orcs that live in cities, and they were perfectly nice. Blacksmiths and wizards and sorcerers, and their pockets were just as big as everyone else's. I mean, their hearts. And
I look at you with like gleaming eyes and I go, can you tell me more about orcs? I've never met one before. And I'm just like, tell me the story. Tell me the story about all the orcs you've met.
They're big and they're green and they snore very loud. It's very easy to sneak up on a sleeping orc. They smell pretty bad, and they're very nice.
He starts to sniff himself, and he's like, "Do I smell really bad?"
And they have tusks, and but not claws, so they are at a disadvantage in a fist fight.
Well, I'm excited to meet one. I mean, I've met them before. I mean, yeah.
I think it's a little presumptuous to judge an orc before you know its name.
I agree.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's an old saying. You wouldn't know it.
You don't judge a safe before you crack it.
Oh, you're right. Oh.
So I guess at this point, you have walked through the woods for, I guess it's been several hours, and you've emerged from the woods and found at the edge of the woods, there's kind of a green grassland, a pasture area. And as you're heading over the hill, you see a small village. It's quaint. It's got wooden homes amidst the grasses. And seeing you approach an orcish woman holding a musical instrument, stops playing. She was sitting on the front of her house amidst a little vegetable garden. And she turns and stands up and waves to you. She looks like this. Here's a picture of an orcish woman playing a musical instrument there.
Don't stop on our account.
And she says, hi. She's, hello there. Welcome to Kirkusk. What brings you to town?
We are here to discuss the acquisition of lumber.
Oh.
There was a fire recently in the neighboring town. They asked us to come and request for aid.
Oh no. What town was that? Was that Thimblenotch or Greenglade or?
Greenglade.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. Name's Gurkha Thrask. Come on in, let's talk. And she kind of waves her hand like over her shoulder as she turns and kind of walks into the village. So the homes here are built. That's art by Bien Flores, by the way. So the homes here are kind of well-built wood frame homes. You can see that they get their reputation for being good carpenters in this town for a good reason. And as she's turning, she says, "So you'll need wood, huh? And I guess builders. I mean, if they want the houses built in the elven style, that takes time. But if they want them built quickly and well, we can do that. But there's a little bit of a problem, actually." She stops and says, "We're kind of in a bit of a quandary with the lumber situation. You see, well,
Did your trees burn down too?"
No fire exactly, but we used to get our wood from the small wood." And she gestures off in one direction, and you can see a mile or two away, there's like a small grove of trees that stand independently from the village and are nearby, as opposed to the big forest where the Greenglade is, which is much further. And she says, well, some Fae have moved in, and they're very protective, and they don't like it when we chop down their trees. So you'd have to negotiate with the Fae. Alternatively, I suppose if you're I don't know, not the negotiating types, let's say. There's an old abandoned lumber yard off in yonder direction. She points in the opposite direction, but we don't go around there. The the dead walk there. So I don't know what happened. That lumber yard predates our village. We've only been here about 20 years. But when we arrived, there was an abandoned lumber mill up on the hill over there by the stream. And it's got the dead walking in it. So, but there's lumber.
Nobody's consecrated it?
Well, we did. Someone tried once. They didn't come back. So the thing is, the creatures don't leave the land there. They don't leave the yard.
Oh, that's fair enough.
So, and there's, so we just leave it alone. And we've got a town guard over there. And you look over and there's like another, a man. He looks maybe a mixture of Orcish and Elvish. And he seems to be asleep in the town square. Says, well, we've got our town guard keeps an eye out in case they come shambling in. But they never have in 20 years. And we've just been getting wood from the small wood that whole time. So I guess you got a choice. You can negotiate with the Fae or face the Walking Dead. If you want us to build. We got the builders, but right now we got a bit of a shortage on lumber. Those Fae just moved in a few weeks ago.
What kind of Fae are they? Have you seen them?
No, I didn't see them. But because I'm the older person here. I don't handle the chopping of the wood. I mean, look at these hands. That would just ruin me for playing my lute.
And Milo, that's your elder.
I'm hiding behind your leg.
Milo wanted to meet you.
Oh,
this is Milo.
Hi, Milo. Nice to meet you. You wanted to meet me? You know some of my songs then?
I wanted to meet an orc.
Well, at your service. She kind of does like a performer's flourish bow, right?
And then he reaches his hand up to shake, and his hands are shaking.
She shakes your hand, and yes, it is in some sense like you've read or heard. She has greenish skin, strong grip, but a friendly smile and a musical voice, and tusks. So she says, well, it's a pleasure to meet you, Milo. If the situation were different, I'd sing you a song, but right now it sounds like Green Glade is in need of assistance. So you asked, she turns to Sildaris, what kind of Fae? Well, I haven't seen them, but they described when the woodsman came back, they described them as they're the small kind. They're like this big.
Were the woodsman children? Did any children? Because children see them better than grown-ups.
Well, the woodsmen, we wouldn't know. The woodsmen were full-grown men and women. I can show you if you want to talk to them.
It's okay. They probably didn't see them in the true form anyway.
Yeah, they just saw little floating lights, and the lights talked and told them that they weren't allowed to chop down trees anymore.
Did they shoot them with something sharp?
I believe one of them got a poke in the backside. Yeah, when.
Not the chest.
No, it was. She reported that she was turning to chop a tree and something sharp poked her right in the bottom. Little bitty arrow, in fact, is how she described it when she pulled it out.
Well, I believe we are fortunate. That sounds like the summer court. They might be open to negotiation if we have something to give them. Anybody got any milk?
She says, well, we have milk, but...
You have honey.
Honey.
Yes.
Yes, we have honey. I have both of those in my kitchen.
Tiny cakes.
I don't have any tiny cakes. If we have a few hours, Bryn over there could bake some for us. He's very good.
Go. We don't have a lot of time. Go.
So we could have been having wood all this time. We just needed to give him some cake. Interesting. Okay. So she calls over and...
them the old way, but that's you don't need to know. That take two. Just start baking cake.
Okay.
Well, Sir Doris is from. Sometimes they leave milk out, and where I'm from, that makes milk go bad. But apparently, it makes the fairies happy.
It does make the fairies happy. Yeah, for sure.
She shakes her head. She says, "I don't know much about the Fae folk. I just know that if they say the wood's off limits, we should trust that it's off limits.
No. trust what they say.
Oh, okay.
But that's extra. Just go get the cake, okay?
She runs up. She's like, okay. She turns kind of confused and walks away for a minute and basically starts visiting her neighbors, right? So imagine like a dozen kind of these wood frame homes built in kind of a down like orderly streets. It almost looks just a little bit like a suburb, you know, like everyone has like a square plot of land, very orderly, and a home, and all the homes are kind of similar style. And so she walks and she knocks on the door, and somebody opens, and they're wearing an apron, and it's a kind of an orcish man, and he's got a oven mitt on one hand, and so she talks to him for minutes and points at you, and the guy looks confused, and he shrugs. And
Think we need.
how many?
Oh,
What was that? I didn't hear last time.
make double what you think we need. 2 times.
He turns and he's like,
+1 for me.
okay, and he's like, he's talking. He's a little far away to hear what he says, but he's quite clearly confused. She's shrugging. He's shrugging. She says, well, he says, okay, and he turns and walks back in, and then she turns and goes to somebody at the next house and the next house, and then eventually she comes back. Let's say 20 minutes later. While you're waiting, there's anything anyone else would like to do? Do you want to discuss your options here? You've been given basically a choice of how to handle this.
So Milo, when she comes back, are you going to challenge her to a death match?
She seems so nice. I don't know if I wanna. Maybe we can have a performance match.
Battle of the Bands.
Oh,
Yeah. But if I win, will I become the chief?
You want to be the chief?
I don't know if I want to be the chief. It seems like a lot of pressure now.
so eventually she comes back, and she says, all right, well, I spoke to my neighbors, and Bryn there was already about to bake these tartlets that he makes. They're really great, right? We just harvested some rhubarb. So, I don't know if you know this, but, we're known for our rhubarb tartlets here in Kirkusk. What did you think we'd eat? I mean, just because we're orcs doesn't mean we're not civilized. Now, she says, everybody likes a good rhubarb tartlet. Now, so he's going to make some of those, and, his neighbors got milk and honey that they're preparing. We're all a little bit confused by all of this, but if you say that CNL sent you from Greenglade, she's a close friend of the village, right? So we trust that she'd know whom to choose to send. And you seem to know quite a bit about the Fae folk. We don't honestly know much about them. So if this will help us negotiate with them better, the couple times people have tried to go in there, they just get shooed out and shot with these tiny arrows, which don't hurt that much, honestly. But still, I mean, we don't want to have too much trouble, right?
I mean, you could think of it as them giving you toothpicks.
Yeah, but in your skin is not where I like my toothpicks, right? But fair, it's possible. I will say, though, that sometimes when you get our friends have gotten shot with these little arrows, it knocks them right out. They just fall asleep. And they wake up like an hour later, outside the wood. So, I guess they are tricksy, like you said there, Mr. Son, friend.
Sildaris.
Sildaris? Nice to meet you, Sildaris.
It is nice to meet you too. You are also the first orc I have ever met.
Oh, well, you should come by Kirkusk more often. Actually, there's at least, my brother lives in Greenglade, actually. Did you see, half-brother, right? You might have seen him, but maybe not. If there was a fire. And so she basically asks for, like, details about the fire and, how is everyone doing? How bad was it? That sort of thing. And so while you're having that conversation, after 15 minutes of her relating how she's visited it before and CNL is a friend and all of this, then some people start approaching with items. So someone has so they come up, one person comes up with a big wooden carved bowl. It's like an ornately carved wooden bowl full of milk. So you'd have to kind of like carry that just open topped milk bowl. And then somebody else comes up with a jar of honey. And it is, and then the third person eventually emerges with a tray of hot just like 2 stacks full of these tartlets. And so, I mean, there's like 40 of them. And they say, well, here you go. I mean, this is a lot of tartlets. I'd hate to see them go to waste. You're not just going to, what do you do? Throw them into the woods or?
No, that's no way to bring somebody a cake when you're visiting their home, is it? I don't just chuck bread at you like, hello, nice to meet you, and then just throw it at your face.
No, that would be rude. You're right. I don't know. I don't know how these folk operate. You're right, though. I'm sorry. Do you need help carrying it? I mean, is it safe?
I'm sure it will be fine. We'll just go in with a little bit of respect and a lot of whimsy, and we should be just fine. I fear not.
All right. So they hand you now possess a large bowl of milk. It's got like about a gallon of milk in it. You've got a small jar of honey, and you've got 40 rhubarb tartlets. What would you like to do?
There's 39 rhubarb tartlets. Just saying.
They are also quite good. A little tart, but good.
Delicious.
A nice flaky pastry. So
So should we start singing musicals? Is this the part where we go into the woods?
So
Milo starts to sing, hoping that just he enjoys performing.
Yeah. Keep singing the Fae like that. Keep doing it.
Okay. I try to sing an orc song that I heard.
all right. So for fun, go ahead and make a performance check. Let's see how well the music is good it is when it reaches the ears of those Fae.
Shadowpaw will help by caterwauling along.
Nice. So an excellent performance, right? So Milo with Shadowpaw as backup vocals. And
memories.
so the band arrives at the wood. This is and so the Gurkha referred to this as the small wood, and it sprouts from the tops of some low hills, which rise from the grassy plain just outside of the village. As you approach, you can see that the interior of the wood is dense with old-growth hardwood trees. Upon arriving, you hear the murmur of the wind in the leaves, as well as something else, perhaps the sound of a tiny voice. You haven't entered the wood yet, so you're standing outside of it holding your offerings. What would you like to do?
So I will look at everybody with me to just make sure they're ready.
Yeah, Shadowpaw's ears are kind of doing that, like, listening around thing. She's like, on your lead, Solaris.
All right. So there are a couple ground rules I need you to understand before we go into the wood and start talking to the Fae, okay? The first thing I need you to understand is no matter how big they are very big. You must treat them with respect if you are going to expect anything resembling respect. The second thing you need to know is they don't come from this world. They come from the other world. They act weird. Just accept it, okay?
Like, they come from hell?
Sort of speaking. The third thing I need you, do not eat anything they offer.
What about the rhubarb pies?
Oh, we will give them food, but don't eat what they give you.
Okay.
Even if it looks delicious?
Especially if it looks delicious.
Can I have another rhubarb tart then before we go in?
And Soldaris will give Milo 2. All right. And the most important thing, do not go making deals. We're going to make a deal, but they will ask you for other deals. Don't make them. Focus on where you're at, focus on where you're going, because they will lead you astray. Even the best of them will.
What if they're selling something interesting?
They do not sell anything. The Fae do not care about your mortal coin.
What if they're offering power and strength?
I'm starting to think we were better off with the undead.
This is a way where we might be able to escape without violence. And not dying today is kind of the way I wanted my day to go.
Very well, we shall try your way.
So you approach with these offerings. How is that going to look? What's that look like?
I'm going to... Sildar's is going to pose everybody like mannequins, holding gifts in front of them. And then I'm going to say, do you know the fairy tongue? And I'll point to everybody and like.
No, I speak Dwarvish.
Then quiet with you. and then I'll sort of motion everybody out, and I'll hold gifts up, and I'll entreat in Sylvan. Ancient spirits of the wood, we come bearing gifts for you, and wish to parley. Do you honor us with your presence?
So, as you approach and begin to speak in Sylvan, all of you see in the darkness of the wood little lights kind of appear and be hovering and floating around. And they move, and it looks as though several of them move closer. And when they emerge from the shadow, you actually can see they're not actually lights. They look like small winged creatures with butterfly or dragonfly-like wings that are iridescent and kind of catch the light and make them glow. They look like this. All right. And as they fly up, and there's maybe almost a dozen of them, right, kind of hovering around the woods in front of you. And one of them flies a little forward. So that's the only one that actually kind of like breaks the tree line, that leaves the wood, if you will, and comes about halfway between you and the edge of the wood. Because I'm assuming you approached the wood but didn't enter. Did you enter? Or either way is just... So you stepped in. Okay. So yeah. They're more surrounding you in like a semicircle then. And one of them speaks and says, what do you got there? You got that for us? I mean, those tartlets, that looks pretty good. Is that strawberry? I like strawberry, okay, I guess. Well, yeah, and this is in common. No, yeah. I think. Let me see. I speak common.
Yeah.
I'm living for this voice.
I was going to ask if the sprite spoke common, and if that's the sprite speaking common, I wonder who the sprite learned it from. Because that's amazing. The sprite must have gone to school with Joe Pesci. I'll say, you honor us by speaking our immortal tongue.
Yeah, about that. So you can go ahead and leave the milk and honey and them tartlets. They look. Are those still warm? I think those are still warm. So they're kind of hovering nearby, interested. But is that it? I mean, you just making an offering because you revere us as, what did you call us? Ancient spirits of the wood? Yeah.
Yeah. I think you know better than that.
He does one of these. Yeah, well, maybe I do, maybe I don't. Is there something? Is this an offering? If so, are you interested in striking some sort of bargain, or what are we talking about here?
From your lips to the old god's ears, we're looking to strike a bargain.
All right. Let's hear your terms.
You like this wood, yeah?
Yeah, we've decided to take it up as ours to protect. You see, we're the protectors of ancient woods across the land, and this here needed some protecting because it's been falling to the axes of them folks over there a little too much lately. We could hear the woods crying out for some help. So we answered.
Well, I think you might be listening to the wrong woods.
Oh, you're talking about the fire over there?
No. The fire is unfortunate, and we don't want any more trees to fall to fire. But did you know about the woods over there that are infested with the undead?
Oh,
Those trees are likely crying out for more help than these over here.
well, so two things. First, fire's, you see, a little bit of fire every once in a while is actually good for the forest. It clears it out, allows regrowth. So we're okay with a little bit of a fire every once in a while. As for them undead over there, yeah, it just so happens we heard about that. But if you go and look, you'll see that most of the trees over there has been chopped down already. That's like one of them lumber yards. Right, so we don't care so much about the dead wood. The humans that built that place a century ago, well, they already did their damage.
It's undead trees and undead people.
So,
Doris.
he turns and says, "Oh, they speak too. It's not just you, huh? Oh, where was my manners? My name's, my name's Dewdrop. You was, tell me about yous." Yeah, you, with the tarts. Go on.
Shadowpaw will put the tarts on the ground and do an elaborate bow with her cape. Say, Shadowpaw of the Clattering Sea, but if I've done my job properly, you haven't heard of me. Sorry, Sildaris. Pick the tray up again.
It's nice to meet you there, Shadowpaw. Sildaris, is it? You the you who wishes to entreat with us. And I see you got two others. Well, it's nice to meet you two. I like you, the strong silent types. That's good. Let's do more talking.
Since you politely asked.
Well, it is so nice to meet you all. Will there be anything else? I mean, I suppose you could try to bargain for some sort of fey gifts if you're interested in that. I mean, that's normally not our ballywick, you know what I'm saying? We protect the trees mostly, but if you we could arrange for, something like that. But is that why you came? You don't seem to be the type.
Shadowpaw's tail starts swishing and her eyes just get really big.
I will be frank. Why we are here is because you are living in the place that the orcs need to be able to act in order to live, and that is also the circle of things, as you know. However, what would normally happen is you would have a couple woods that would be able to regrow. Right now, you've got this one. This is the only one they can put axe to, because the one over there, they cannot because of the undead. And the undead will trample down. Their energy will kill anything trying to sprout.
I see.
If you were to turn your bow to something useful, say eliminating the undead, then you will have two spots for trees to grow, and there would be a lot less impact on one of the wood. They would be able to take from the new trees in both and allow the ancient trees that you need to protect. Plus, they make these delightful cakes, which we're willing to trade, along with the milk and along with the honey to make it go down nice, if you're willing to live in peace as such.
Well, all right. I think I'm understanding the terms here. All right. So, in order to, let's see how convincing you are. Go ahead and make a persuasion check. Because you brought gifts, you get advantage on this roll. I think that's a perfectly reasonable grant for sure. I think that, yeah, that's fair. You've been doing the talking, so go ahead and make that persuasion check. And while you're so after you've delivered, while we wait for the dice to show up, after you've finished speaking, the Dewdrop turns. Oh, that's interesting. And you know all about them.
Oh, shit.
I wasn't just pulling stuff out of my bottom, right?
No, that you would have advantage on knowledge checks about the Fae, for example. So they turn. So Dewdrop turns to the other sprites and calls them in, and has a little powwow, so to speak. They have a conversation, a meeting about this, and then turns back and says, "So did you roll persuasion?"
Not yet.
Okay, so just wondering. So go ahead and make that roll. Okay, so you have advantage, remember, because of the gift. And they're like, yeah, right. So here's the story. It just so happens that, as I mentioned before, about the fact that fire clears out some of the trees and it's actually healthy, it's actually not harmful for them to chop down some trees. But you see, we got to be the ones who decide which trees, because we know when the trees are ready to fall. So what's going to happen is if you want to send one of the woods folk in or whatever's, we'll guide them to the trees that it's their time, and that should give them plenty of lumber, because there ain't that many of them. Now, as for them undead, well, I mean, I'll tell you, we might be able to do something about that in the long run, but we ain't gonna be able to do much about it now. You see, these arrows we got, they're dipped in poison, and it'll knock you right out, but it just don't do nothing to the undead. So it's kind of a little bit of a problem with us. We hate them. We don't like them around. We can't do much about them. But so we got some. We might be able to arrange some other friends to come take care of that. If you want to just worry about getting the lumber back to where was it that needed this place? You said somebody needed this wood. Then you could do that, and then maybe another day we can take care of the undead over there. For now, though, tell the people in the village of what's it called, Kirkusk, that they can come in and get some wood. We'll, me and my fellas, guide them. All right? Nice talk. Oh, you be sure to leave them tartlets and honey and milk now, all right? That's part of the deal. Don't break a deal with us.
So, well, if everybody's okay, we'll leave the treats for them.
Yeah.
All right. Leave the treats, and Sildaris will do the best imitation of a graceful bow, and it's not graceful. And say in Sylvan, thank you for taking time to speak with us.
He just kind of nods, gives you one of these. Yeah, it was nice talking to you.
You do honor to Titania. Long may she reign.
Yeah, I'll let her know you said that. She's one, she's one of our people.
Turn to my friend. Let's get the heck out of here. Nod.
All right, so you guys head back to Kirkusk, and you find Urka. I don't know, what was her name? Gurka, waiting for you. Gurka Thrask was waiting for you there, and she says, "Well, how'd it go? I mean, did you talk to the whatever they are, the Fae folk? I see you don't have the snacks." Then she looks over at Milo, and her eyes narrow, and she goes, "Did you just eat them all, or did you actually give them to somebody? You didn't just leave them in the woods, did you?"
I pull one out of my pocket. I still got one left.
Oh.
And I snap it in half, and I'm like,
"Oh no, that's okay, hon. I'm okay, thanks." So, were there Fae folk there?
There were, in fact, Fae folk, and we had a very fruitful conversation with them. I believe that there will be an amenable resolution to our issue very shortly.
Fantastic. So does that mean it's safe for our woods folk to head in and get some lumber?
Yes, although I believe Sildaris has the deeper details for you.
They're going to help you do it. I think they're going to point you to a tree.
So here's the way it works, okay? They are spirits of the wood. They have every right to live there, and you cannot really force them out. Are you getting the understanding?
Well, sure. We don't need to force anybody out. We don't want to, we don't own the wood. We just like to use some of its lumber.
So what they're going to do is they will set up an arrangement. They seem to like the tarts. You provide them nice baking things. They will point to you in the wood the trees that are ready to be taken. It will promote the health of the wood, which is good for everybody. It would allow them to do what their purpose under the heavens are, and it would allow you to continue living as you are. And then I'll tap my nose. It may also be to your benefit to speak with them about taking care of the undead over at the logging camp, because I believe they might be amenable to working with you. They might require more tarts.
I think that sounds like a wonderful arrangement, she says. And so she turns and kind of informs her fellow villagers, and Bryn says, "Oh, I guess I'll make some more tarts." Turns back and goes into his house, and several of the other villagers, emerge from their homes and have axes on their shoulders, and it's like, all right, well, worst case scenario, I get a needle in the butt again, and they kind of head off towards the Smallwood. And a short while later, they begin to return, dragging fallen trees. And so at this point, Gurka says, "Well, thank you so much for clearing this up. What we'll do is we will get to work immediately on this wood. We've got a whole community here of carpenters, and once we've got these into planks, we'll load them on wagons and we'll deliver them to Green Glade by tomorrow, we hope. And we'll send quite a few carpenters around to put up those homes and barns real quick. So you tell CNL that we're sending help, and they can count on us. Thanks for helping us with the small wood, and maybe in the long run with the undead problem too. We appreciate it.
Perfect.
All the thanks to owed to Sildaris.
No, I don't like talking. It just put my big foot into my big mouth usually.
You did a good job.
And again, 6.5 feet, 3.5 feet. I can't praise well or gracefully, like being the center of attention, but it just screamed for something I needed to be doing. So.
All right. So at that point, you are free to leave Kirkusk, and you can head towards either the gnomish village of Thimble Notch, known for their weaving, or the halfling village of Edgefield, which has ample farm and food.
I feel like we've had enough food right now. Let's go to some clothes.
All right. So I will describe, let's see, it's 5:35. So I will, we'll see how things go at the Gnomish Village. The Gnomish Village lies at the edge of the forest. So you're kind of heading back, it's kind of southwest towards back across the grasslands to the western edge of the wood. Have a couple hours walk or travel. Eventually you wind your way alongside a marshy fen. Soon you see a gnomish village of quaint peat moss cottages with lovely majestic tapestries hanging from most of the eaves out front of each of the homes. I think I have a gnome character. No, I don't. All right. So a sprightly older person emerges from one of the peat cottages and waves. They wear an ornately woven tunic and pants. So they say, a person greets you and says, hello, welcome to Thimble Notch. And they wave you in. It says, my name's Xander Fibbletoes, and I am happy to greet you. Are you here to purchase some clothing? We have plenty of clothing. I've got some fabrics. They're just wonderful. So this is let's say a 3-foot tall kind of non-binary middle-aged-esque gnome person who is wearing this kind of really ornate, well-made clothing, and assumes you're here to buy the village's primary commodity. So, how can I help you?
We are here from the nearby village of Greendale so that we can receive some aid. There was a fire recently. We were asked to come and requisition a few things, one of which is clothing.
Oh, there was a fire. I thought we smelled smoke on the wind. Well, that's just unfortunate. So how bad was the fire? Is everyone okay? Or was this a situation where we need to send aid of some sort? How can we help our neighbors? They've been very good to us.
There might be some wild hogs in the forest.
Wild hogs. Okay, well, we'll keep an eye out. Is that dangerous?
Depends on if you ride them.
I've never tried to do that. I'll keep that in mind. All right.
But also clothes.
Clothes. Oh, so the fire, did people lose homes? Is that what happened?
Yes, homes were lost. Material possessions were lost. Lives, thankfully, were not lost.
Oh, well, that's wonderful to hear, but also, of course, unfortunate. So what do you know? So we'd be delighted to produce clothing in mass. We only have a few items at the moment. There's a bit of a problem, I'm a bit embarrassed to say, about our...
Faye and your weaving spindle.
Faye? Oh, I never thought about that. They are known for being tricksy. I don't believe we have any Fae here. In this case, it's, well, we don't know exactly. We think the loom is haunted. Because, you see, about a week ago, well, things started going strange with the loom. There would be chairs knocked around. The work that we'd done on the loom, left half done the night before, would be all undone, the fabric unwoven and thrown onto the floor the next morning. We just don't know exactly what it is. We've had a few brave souls have spent the night in there, only to have furniture tossed at them, and they ran out terrified. We don't know how to get rid of it. I don't suppose any of you are... What do you call it when you get rid of a ghost? Exorcism? I don't know. I mean,
Anthemina's done it.
I've had some experience with ghosts, yes.
Well, I mean, that... if you could get rid of that ghost, I mean, that certainly would be... would allow us to... to make some clothing for you.
Let us
Have you
attempt it.
tried selling the loom as a novelty item?
Well, I mean, it's...
Making a new loom.
We could make a new loom, though this is our village centerpiece. It's been the focus of our guild. You see, most of the members around here, I mean, look at all these homes, and they gesture at the homes, and there's all these, like, peat moss cottages, and there's, like, 12 or 13 of them, and every one of them, well, everyone except one, has this beautiful tapestry hanging in the front eave. So, like, out of the rain, but out, it's just detailed, and each one's unique, and they seem to be depicting scenes, almost like a narrative, right? Each one has it's like telling a different story. One house lacks it, and then in the center is a large round building. It says, there's our guild hall. If you want to go in, you can see the loom, but you'll see it's this massive thing. It's like 15 feet wide and 10 feet tall, and I mean, when we are all running it, the whole guild, which is almost the whole town, really, everyone in town is either a guilds person or, well, then there's the other folks. There's they collect the peat moss from the bog to make our homes, or they trade for food. But for the most part, we're all in there working the thing together. We can produce high volumes of fabric. It would be unfortunate if we had to get rid of it. We certainly wouldn't be able to help Greenglade anytime soon until we got a new one.
Out of curiosity, how many of you little people does it take to run a loom that big?
Oh, most of us. I mean, look, as you can see, and you kind of glance around and you get the impression, dozen or so homes, maybe each of them houses a family. This is not a large village. I mean, there might be 50 or 60 people that live here. And the impression you're getting is that it's like 20 people and they're working at this little thing at once, 10 or 20 people. They say like, I can show you the loom if you'd like. And nothing happens. It's safe during the day, mostly, though the strings keep breaking. We make good thread here, and just keeps snapping. We think it's a ghost.
Why does that house not have any decorations on it?
Oh, that's the Copper Knobs. Well, actually, it's kind of a sad story. Sally Copper Knob is the last of their line, and she died actually about a week ago. But they were never much into the weaving of the tapestries. Ever since the old man Copper Knob died a few years ago. That was a sad story. He was trying to complete the family tapestry. You see, each of these represents the lineage of our families. And he died at the loom just before he could complete it. But that was years ago, right?
Sally died a week ago, and then the weirdness with the loom started a week ago.
It started around the next night, I believe. Yeah, she died in the morning. She was a nice old lady, kind of unusual. She did no interest in weaving. She was the peat farmer. In fact, many of the homes here were built by her and her father's peat pulled out of the bog. But no,
I think Sally's stuck in your loom.
Sally, well, she hated that place. She never wanted to go in there. She always blamed it for, the death of her father. But yeah,
maybe she doesn't want anybody to weave anymore.
It might be. I mean,
it doesn't make. Yes? Could we search her home?
Oh, sure. I mean, if you think that she's responsible for this somehow after the grave, I'm happy to let you investigate. I mean, if you're here to help see, Greenglade, it would help us too if you could solve this problem, right? So she gestures and kind of walks you over. She says, I mean, no one lives here anymore. In fact, we're not sure yet. We haven't decided yet. We're going to have, we have our town circle once every new moon, and we haven't had one yet to decide what to do with the home. We rule by consensus here, you see. And so let's go ahead and check this out. And so she goes over, the door's unlocked, opens it. It's a small, modest home. Gnome-sized furniture. In the far back corner, covered in dust, is a large tapestry that's rolled up with a bunch of frayed edges, as though it's not complete.
Can I poke around and investigate the house?
You may.
I will lean over to Anthamina and whisper to her. I bet when they're all running the loom, they look like ants on a biscuit.
So Shadowpaw is kind of poking around the home. Is Anthamina or Milo like to do anything in particular while this is going on as well?
Milo tries to open up the tapestry and look at it.
All right. What about Anthamina? Oh, you're muted. I can't hear you.
That's why
Sorry.
I kept starting to say something. No, that was totally on me. No, that's what Anthamina was going to do. So she'll inspect the thing as well. Also, I don't know what kind of a role Anthamina would have to do to like not laugh at what I said, but like I don't know. Do you think a wisdom would be appropriate?
If you want to make a wisdom saving throw, yes, that's fine.
All right. Yeah, I'll say Anthamina might have like cracked the tiniest bit of a smile, but she didn't laugh.
That sounds winning to me. So yes, any emotion from Anthamina equals winning.
All right, so go ahead and make an investigation check, and if who do you want? Is Anthamina? Do you want to make the roll or Milo? One of you will help the other. Just one of you makes the roll.
I've got a +7.
Yeah, you can go ahead, Anthamina. I'm just wanting to look at it.
22. All right. So you unroll this, and she says, "Oh yeah, that's Xander Fibbletoes. They say, yeah, that's the full family." And so you unroll it, and you can tell that this does, in fact, it relates a story through images. It's like a mural in a way. So in the top left, there seems to be an image of a caravan traveling across the land. In the top right, it looks like they arrive at the side of a bog. In the middle left, it looks like they are digging peat or mud or bricks of something out of the bog and building homes. On the right, you see an old man at a loom, and at the bottom left, you see the old man at the loom, and there's a young girl with him. And then the bottom right is unfinished picture.
I kind of pull on Anthamina, and I'm like, maybe we gotta finish it.
That was my thought as well, but I do not excel in areas of sentimentality. I will need all of your help.
I know. Okay. I look at my thumbs, and I'm just like,
that goes for the rest of you as well.
So Xander's like, well, I can certainly show you how the loom works, but I will say it's getting near dusk, and normally after dark is when things start getting strange. But if you're willing to take that chance, I'm gladly gonna show you. I might not want to stick around for very long, or maybe I'll stand back.
I think it might be more meaningful if the town got together to help finish up the picture. At the time that she can see it happen, so she knows that you care for her. It's always.
She says that. So she did. She was well liked in town. Xander says. So I think that would be a nice gesture. And I'll gather up some folks. And so they walk off and start talking to people. And then a crowd gathers, a small crowd of like a dozen or 20 people maybe, out front of the guild hall. And I suppose you guys bring the tapestry over in there. So entering into this building, it is, the room is maybe 60 feet wide, circular. It's got about 20-foot high ceiling. The floor walls and ceiling are all polished wood, and actually, it looks a little bit like the style of wood you saw in Kirkusk, and because this is a wooden building, and all the rest of them are peat. So the gnomes apparently here, the gnomish community here, mostly builds the peat moss. But you're guessing this is orcish construction here, so they might have built the guild house for them. And now that you realize this, you realize that you did see one or two homes back in Kirkusk that had those tapestries hanging in the front. So in the center of the room, however, the room is empty. There are several tiny chairs scattered here and there, but it looks like the center is this large loom, a good 10 feet tall, about 15 feet wide in a square, so it's like 15 by 15 by 10. And it's this large contraption, and it's actually like a 4-sided loom. So there's this large collection where you can kind of slip into the inside and set up the fabric, the spools, and then you can run this thing, and then it produces fabric out of all the sides. And so with your help and the help of the gnomish villagers, they are able to kind of pull out this, unfurl this tapestry and get it up on the loom. But around the time you get it set up, there's a murmur through the crowd of gnomes, and several of them start to leave. And Xander does their best to try to, it's all right. We've got friends here. We're all together. It's this nonsense. This ghost nonsense has to end eventually. And oh no, it's haunted. So there's some discord in the crowd, and then all of a sudden, a wooden chair that one of the gnomes was setting up that just pulls out from behind them, and the gnome kind of like collapses onto the ground. And there's like a wind, even though you're indoors and all the windows and doors are closed, there's a wind that blows through, and the kind of lanterns that they've got lit along the outside walls and one on each of the 4 corners of the loom flicker badly. And you hear a voice kind of moan, and more of the gnomish weavers and kind of start to run towards the door. What would you like to do?
Milo gets on top of a chair and starts trying to perform a song of friendship and community.
All right. So Milo is clambering up to perform music. Let's see what, I don't know. What's Anthem? I'm going to check on each of you. What's Anthamina up to?
Anthamina is very likely getting ready to use some kind of apothecary skill to deal with the ghost if necessary. Normally, a spell like Speak with Dead would require the sorry, I put that into the chat. Would require the corpse, but is there a possibility that I could use the spell here with the loom?
Yeah, that's possible. Let's just say that it will. You might not be able to compel the ghost to speak, but if there is a ghost present, but it would allow. If the ghost, maybe I'll give the ghost a saving throw or something if it wants to resist. It might not want to resist. You don't know. So what would it look like for Anthamina to use apothecary techniques to speak with dead?
I'm glad you asked that. So for Anthamina, it would actually look, she's got a little tuning fork and a little like a little hammer. She set out like a little dish with some incense on it. And in addition, she's got one of those old timey like listening cones. So she like strikes the fork as the incense are going, and then she listens through the listening cone, and then speaks through it when she needs to speak with the dead. And she's basically using the incense as kind of the focus. So you might see her whispering into the cone at the incense and then listening to it.
All right. So you activate the tuning fork and it starts vibrating. So before we get to the resolutions of any of these actions, let's go around. What is Shadowpaw up to?
So question first, when Shadowpaw was investigating the house before the tapestry had been opened, did she find anything that might help soothe a ghost or be interesting or help like want to go on a tapestry?
Yes. So, all right. So this is good. I thank you so much for reminding me because I had forgotten this. All right. So yes, actually, she finds. So the tapestry is made out of what looks to be, normal fabrics. It maybe is made of, kind of a dense wool or something. But she finds something unusual. There's a kind of fabric or that you've never seen before that seems to have been made out of reeds taken from the bog. And it looks as though whoever was living in this house most recently, which according to Xander was Sally, was trying to figure out a way to make cloth or thread from this plant material instead of probably what you would guess is the wool. That there were no sheep here, so they must be trading for the wool.
Okay. And that's what her tapestry is made out of, or that's what I found in the house?
That's what you found in the house. The tapestry is made in the traditional style, but it looks as though Sally Copperknob was experimenting with an alternative material.
Okay. So I would have told my buddies about that and brought that with me to try and put that in the, if it works, put it in the spindle. But, or, you know, the loom. I don't know weaving.
I don't either. I apologize. Yeah, I'm going to need to, like, talk to somebody about this before I publish this thing.
But after that, Shadowpaw is just going to draw her short sword and try and find a dark corner that she can hide in, or somewhere high up that she can just kind of, you know, to ready a sneak attack if she needs to on a ghost.
All right. So, all right, Shadowpaw has presented the alternative fabric and has then found a perch. So what about Sildaris?
So Sildaris is completely out of his element here. You know, talking with the Fae that rolled right out of Goodfellas, that's totally in his element. But dealing with ghosts, as anybody that watched last week knows, that is not Sildaris' element. He doesn't know what to do. He constantly looks at everybody else to try to figure it out. He turns into a bull. He doesn't know. So I think I'm just going to reference everybody to see if things are starting to get scary yet. And if they are starting to get scary, well, my trusty woodsman's axe is right there. I can deal with most problems with that. I can't deal with ghosts with that, but I just have to keep thinking that. Something's got to work.
All right. So let's see. So we'll go back around now. So we've got Milo is going to perform. Anthemina is poised to do some magic, specifically to try to speak to the ghost. Shadowpaw is hiding and waiting to see if there's about to be a combat, and it sounds like Sildaris is too. So let's go ahead and have first Milo roll performance, and then we'll see if Anthemina is able to contact this ghost. Okay. So this is a song of friendship, you say, Milo, yes?
Friendship and community.
All right.
And how to be brave together.
So, obviously, totally optional, Gilbert. Do you want to tell me what that sounds like? I mean, you can sing if you want. I don't need you to. The dice did the work for you on that one.
Listen to me here, my friends. This is not the bitter ends. We must be strong as we can be, and then we will see the light you'll see. Something, 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 something.
So Milo sings this song, and the melody is actually beautiful, and it fills the guild hall with a weird combination of the tune, but also silence, as everyone, the gnomes, the gnomish community here that had been panicked at the ghost's appearance calms down and listens, and there's kind of a sense of community and good feeling that goes through the place. And then, Anthemina, you hear, as you spin the sound of the ghost nearby. So the way this works is you ask questions and it answers, allegedly. So what would you like to ask?
So first I will, as long as I know that I have the ear of the ghost, so to speak, Anthemine will ask, why are you still haunting this place?
Then you hear a voice, as though from a great distance through a wind, say, let me finish my work.
Next would be the question that Anthemina asks is, would you allow us to help you, and if so, how?
I need You've brought it. You've brought the tapestry. I could not leave this place to get it. It is on the loom. Help me do thy work. And then the shuttle, the thing that you move across to kind of collect the fibers into...
That's what it's called.
Yes, to weave them basically together into across the other fibers. It starts to slowly move, but you could tell that it'll need help, right? The ghost is not able to do this by himself because this machine requires multiple people to run. So that's the second question. Do you have? So I believe you get 3 questions, or is it 5?
Yes, I think it's 3 questions. In fact, it says right
Answer
here.
me these questions 3.
5. It's up to 5 questions.
Oh, 5.
So yeah,
I don't know that I'll need all 5.
Yeah, but if there's anything else you wanted to ask,
I'll actually consult my fellows and say, I can ask a few more questions, but I believe that we are on the right track. We must merely complete, or rather allow the ghost to complete the quilt.
Xander says, what? The ghost wants to complete the quilt. Wait a minute. You think that's Old Man Copperknob? It did sound like a man's voice.
I will say yes. I did hear a man's voice. These are very delicate instruments that can pick up the sounds from the other side of the veil.
Fascinating. He'd always hoped that Sally would carry on in his footsteps, but she never wanted to. She was a peat farmer from day one, and so it always broke his heart when she would refuse to take up the weaving. He tried to get it done in time before he passed, but we all know he never did. And now that she's gone, I guess all chance of the Copperknob family had finishing its tapestry had left him, and he returned from the grave to try to do it himself. Well, we can help him, can't we, folks? Yay! And the good feeling that Milo had inculcated in them, they pitch in. And over the next few hour or two, with the whole guild of weavers there, they load up some fabric. They actually go ahead and experiment with the flaxen kind of fibers that had been pulled out of the bog, and say it would be a nice kind of coda to the tapestry to include the new work of Sally, because after all, if they can make these fibers work, they don't need to trade for wool from other communities. They'll be much more self-sufficient, and so they do. And as dawn breaks, the tapestry is finished. And go ahead. Who would like to describe what the last scene looks like on that? You get to decide.
Again, Anthemine is no good with sentimentality, so she's probably just procedurally going through everything and saying things like, yes, this was the logical course of action. Of course it's going to work.
Look like Sildaris really wants to describe it.
Sildaris knows emotions. Bag. Okay, so the final scene will be a scene of the town coming together to weave the final square. Like gazing in on the town weaving the final square, while the townswoman who passed on gazes on approvingly, and the lights of gnome heaven shining down and illuminating her face. And just a scene of the community coming together to show how much they love and appreciated that family.
And so that is the last scene on the tapestry. And with that, dawn breaks, and you can all take some much needed rest, or maybe you get some rest in, and then it's the next morning. You have a completed tapestry that they proudly hang out front of the Copperknob, in the eaves of the Copperknob home. And they say, and now that our loom is fixed, we'll get to work day and night to produce clothing as quickly as possible for the town of Greenglade. And we hope to deliver it in the next day or two. We'll start delivering both fabric and completed clothes. We've sold to them before, and so we know, we have an idea about what they might like. And with that, you've finished your work here in Thimblenotch, and you have only one town left, Edgefield, the halfling agrarian community, not far. And so you'll be able to head there in a few hours and arrive by midday. But we are going
I
to
love
take...
a halfling lunch.
Yeah, right. Perfect. Or 11sies maybe if you're lucky, right? Why don't we go ahead and take a quick break, just because we're more than halfway through the game, the story, and then we'll come back in like 5 or 10 minutes and see what happens in Edgefield. So let me get that ready to transition, and it's gonna look like this. All right, we'll be back, everybody.
See you.
All right, and we're back. Hello, everybody. Once again, I'm Eugene Marshall, and this is Sigil Spotlight. We a diverse group of tabletop role-playing game creators who feature each other's work each week. This week, we're playing my adventure, Helping Hands, that features the Apothecary class from Ismael Alvarez and the Cat Burglar Tabaxi subclass from Jessica Marcrum. So why don't we go ahead and... So here are our lovely and wonderful players. Why don't we go ahead and introduce these players once more, or the characters rather once more, and then we will dive into the third chapter of our quick story, which I will recap after that. So let's hear from Anthamina.
Yes, I'm playing Anthamina Dior. The definition of no nonsense, an apothecary of the forensic field. So she is an investigator by trade, using the wiles of chemistry and of the new sciences to ply her trade.
That's excellent. And we've seen a little bit of that in action. I hope to see some more. How about Shadowpaw?
I'm Jessica Marcrum. You might see me down there as Angry Nerd Girl, and I am playing Shadowpaw of the Clattering Sea, a tuxedo tabaxi cat burglar who never saw anything she didn't at least want to steal.
Fantastic. And how about Milo?
I am Gilbert S., and I am playing Milo, who is a wonderful halfling barbarian that is happy to be here. Yeah, that's about right.
Excellent. And finally, Sildaris.
Hi, my name is Connor, he, him, and I'm playing Sildaris, a lanky, 6.5 foot tall teenager of Scandinavian descent who is a moonlighting furbolg. Sentimentality, friendliness, and compassion all bundled up in an awkward looking package.
An awkward but lovable package, Sildaris. All right. So when we last left our intrepid adventurers, they began their adventure by helping the town of Greenglade fight a forest fire. They managed to. Everyone was saved, though there was property damage, and so the village of Greenglade has asked them to travel to the 3 nearby villages to ask for supplies and help. The first village they arrived was an orcish village called Kirkusk, and they managed, through some negotiations with some sprites in the nearby wood, to gain access to lumber so that the orcish carpenters could fell some trees with the sprites' permission and deliver it to build new homes for the town of Greenglade. They then traveled to Thimblenotch, the gnomish village known for its weaving, and helped lay to rest an old gnomish weaver who was worried their family line had died out without completing the family tapestry. And so they completed it, depicting a lovely scene of the town coming together to do so as the final scene in the tapestry. And now the gnomish weaving community there is able to get to work making clothes and fabrics to replace those that were lost in the fire. They now have traveled to the halfling community of Edgefield, where they are tasked with trying to make sure that some food can be delivered for our because the crops were many fields of crops were lost in Greenglade due to the fire. So let's go ahead and head that direction. So the halfling village of Edgefield is a series of small and orderly vegetable fields, each of which surrounds a hill-shaped abode with a door in its grassy slope. Dry, freshly dug ditches run beside every field. Upon arrival, several folk emerge, most halfling, though some human and dwarven. A young woman strides forward and welcomes the group warmly, holding a sword in a relaxed hand. So let me go ahead and give you a picture of this. This is another bit of art from the ye olde adventure here. Did I not? Yeah, I didn't yet. Okay, here she goes. So she actually is she seems to be of mixed ancestry, halfling and tiefling, So that's art by Bien Flores, and of course,
She looks badass.
isn't she great? He's really fantastic. So that's a halfling tiefling person, and she walks out and again, kind of, she's not threatening you, but she's quite clearly the town guard, and she takes her work seriously. So she approaches and hails you and says, "Hail, friends! Hiya! What brings you to Edgefield? State your business, please."
Anthemina looks back at her companions and just, shrugs and goes, "I guess I'm the one who's doing this." Yes, we are from Greendale. We have been sent as a small delegation to ensure that we receive aid, as there has been a fire recently. We've already been to the other 2 towns in the area, and now we require food from you. And we ask so with, well, I suppose lunch as well, but we also need food supplies for the town of Greendale, right?
And lunch. Yes.
And lunch, I suppose. But yes, your aid would be appreciated, and we come asking humbly.
So, all right. So she kind of nods and says, "Oh, yeah, all right. We heard about that. Yeah, it's I mean, you can see the smoke from here. I mean, this is like a clear open area on the kind of horizon that you use the forest, and indeed it would be clear to see that they'd be able to see this pillar of smoke. But it's also been a day now, and so she's heard that word has reached Edgefield of this. So she's like, "Oh yeah, we're happy to help. But let me talk to the folks, right? See if we can pitch something together and get you some lunch. I mean, did you miss your 11sies? I mean." So she turns and that's
I've been so hungry.
Well, we're civilized folk here in Edgefield, and we have 11sies. So come. She sheathes her sword and kind of turns and walks away, armor clanking, her kind of short hair blowing in the breeze. And she walks over and starts just shouting, "Hey, come on, we got villagers, we got visitors. Come on, they need something to eat." What? Oh, and there's kind of like a little hubbub. And people start coming out, and it ends up that one of the fields is lying fallow, so they're not planting in it right now. And there's a tent set up there. There's no town center here. It's just very decentralized, just little hills and huts and farms. But there's one of the fields that's just not being used because you got to let crops lie fallow for a little while. You can't farm them every day or every year. And there's a tent set up there, and the tent doors are open, and there's an empty table. And so people bring out, it's like a potluck suddenly happens, because it just so happens that in the town of Edgefield, everyone is ready to have a potluck at any moment. So they have food. They just bring out, and they start setting food out, and they're just eating their meals together instead of in their homes, and they invite you in to share. And so they say, so Thelma continues to speak. "So these are they're coming from Greenglade. They're talking about the fire. They said they wanted to see if we could help anything. And, so people are like, well, I've got some, you could have some of my milk, and you can have some eggs. But what you're realizing is that as people are bringing things up to offer, it's probably enough to feed a dozen people 1 or 2 meals. It's not enough, right? Greenglade lost its crops. They're going to need food for weeks, right? Now, there's ample farms around here, and you think that, well, if the production is high, if the yield is fine, it doesn't seem weird to ask such a thing. But they don't have the food they didn't bring the food out right now. I think they don't understand the scope of the damage just yet. So they're like, well, we've got a couple eggs, and I can spare a loaf of bread, and well, I can spare a gallon of milk. They're saying things like that, which isn't what you had in mind, I don't think.
Anthemina is willing to broach the subject and say, I'm afraid that this isn't what we were here for. We need something that is a little bit more large scale. And I do not mean to disparage the offerings that you've made so far, but I think we're looking for something more in bulk.
Oh no! One of them says, and Thelma says, did they lose their fields? Their crops?
They lost a lot of things.
Oh no! Yeah, this
is maybe 30 to 50 feral hogs making their way over here right now.
Feral hogs? Puts her hands on her sword, and it's like she's ready, right? Feral hogs don't scare Thelma Proudfoot. All right. And they understand. So oh, I see. Okay, well, we're having a out of character. You may be detecting a theme. They're gonna need some help before they can help Greenglade. We're having a bit of an issue. We will be able to provide this from our. We could feed all of Greenglade for weeks out of our stores, but if we deplete them, and we don't have a good harvest, we're going to be in trouble in the winter. Now, I guarantee you we will have a good harvest if we can just get this finished. And she points down at a dry ditch at her feet. And she says, this is an irrigation system. But you see, the problem is that there's no water in it. And that's because we have 2 sources of water and both of them got a problem. So if you...
Did you anger a water god or a fae, or is there a ghost in the water?
Oh, nothing quite like that. It's more that, you see, the swamp over there, we could drain water from just fine, but there's a lizard folk community there, and, well, they want something, they don't see, they're not hostile. We're on good terms with them, but they don't want us to
eat you.
Well, they don't want us just taking their water. They don't, we trade with them. They're decent folk, I guess. But they have, let's say, expressed disinterest in allowing us to drain some of the water out of their swamp. They're concerned about that. And there's a lake over in the other direction, but every time we've lost 3 of our fellow villagers have gone there and not returned. We believe one of them ran and said that a foul monster came out of the lake and swallowed them whole. And so ran. So I have to protect the village. I'd go fight, but I don't know what to expect, and I'm afraid I'd go with you if you were willing to do that, but I haven't gone myself. So she's a little sheepish that she hasn't gone and slain whatever it is that's prevented the lake. She's like, that's Semble Lake over there. It's with plenty of water, but we haven't been able to dig the canal all the way to the lake because something's eating our halflings. And the swamp would also work, but we have to negotiate with the lizard folk, and we haven't been successful yet.
Tell me about this monster.
Well, she says, so she kind of stoops down low and gets into like storytelling mode. She's like, okay, so, Finn over there, he says that he and Fergus went over the hill towards the lake, and there's a swampy kind of reeds in the wetland in the kind of shore area, and as they approached, a foul beast, he described it as like some sort of like a dragon or something, jumped out and swallowed Fergus whole, and so he just ran. And before Fergus and Finn went, Semenina went over there, and she hasn't been seen since. So she was our surveyor. She was going to plot the last of the canal. Well, after she disappeared, and we sent Fergus and Finn to look, and Finn reported back. We've now tried to dig towards the swamp, but the lizard folk are undecided yet about whether they'll let us. But if we don't have that water, we won't be able to produce a high enough yield of our crops, we won't be able to spare the food we currently have in our stores. Not without starving, some of us. If you could help us with one of the other of these problems, however, then we'd be happy to share all we have out of our stores. So negotiate with the lizard folk or investigate the foul monster that swallows halflings whole.
Milo.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, Shadowpaw's going to lean into Anthamina and say, if I'm recalling correctly, monster parts, dragons generally converse before eating halflings. But monsters can look like dragons, and those monsters are made up of parts that are quite valuable to doctors, wizards. Yes?
This is very logically sound.
Just a thought.
I, for one, think that we need to eliminate whatever the problem is. Rather than bothering the poor self-starting lizard folk, I think we should go and allow the halflings of this community instead to help themselves rather than to bother others.
Milo snidely under his breath says, "Of course, halflings can't defend themselves." And yes, he's a halfling.
Maybe there's no need for them to defend themselves. It could just be a beast. Maybe if we offer it something delicious, it'll move on to something else.
Yes, we should ask them to make milk and honey and rhubarb tarts, and maybe this will work for us.
Sounds like it's been getting plenty of delicious halflings so far. But yes, I do see your point.
No, I say it merits investigation. We shall go and discover if this beast can be reasoned with, which I doubt. And then if not, we will defeat it. And if there are parts, there are parts.
I've heard a dragon scale's worth a hefty sum.
So the plan then is to investigate Semble Lake. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. So let me describe that. So so she's happy Thelma's happy to direct you to Semble Lake. She says, follow this path that goes over these hills, and then you'll see like some reeds and marsh, and then right beyond that's the lake. There's a little pier there. The path goes right up to the pier. That's where we're going to dig the canal. But if you can figure out what it is there that is causing the trouble and eliminate it, send it away, we'd be able to help you. We'd love it. Do you need me to come with you? I'm not afraid.
What say the rest of you?
Milo sticks his chest down. I can handle anything.
You're not afraid. But brave people get killed. And if you get killed, there's no one to lead your people. And as this is just an investigatory mission, we don't want your bravery to leave your people without a leader.
Oh, I'm not a leader. I mean, that's very nice of you to say that, but I just do the protecting. But you're right. I should stay. She seems simultaneously disappointed and relieved. So, all right. Well, the path beckons, and next to the path is this kind of wider ditch that's been dug. It's several feet deep, several feet wide, and it just goes in a nice straight line in between these two hills, and the path kind of winds along besides it. And as you walk along, you arrive at what seems to be a shallow lake surrounded by a ring of marsh made of reeds and dirty standing water. The air is silent here, and the smell of damp and a bit of rot linger in your nose, the kind of smell of kind of murky water. So I have a map for this one, actually. Well, I had a map for the other combat encounter too, but we went with the other choice. So let me get you some tokens on here. Can everybody see that now? Whoops.
It's all black. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, I'm starting to.
Yeah, you just need to scroll down.
Yeah, and I needed to drop tokens on. So, Esther is not here. So I will get rid of Esther in a minute here. Okay, and then we've got Anthamina and Milo. Okay.
Milo says that we're probably on the lookout for a scary rabbit, because if it's threatening to halflings, the worst case scenario is probably a rabbit.
So you find yourself now to describe the scene again, like you're looking at a grassy field that ends at a marshy lake. There's about 30 feet of marsh grass that lines the lake, with a narrow path winding through the grasses to the lake's edge, where a rotting dock juts out into the lake. You can tell the lake looks fairly shallow, but you can't see how deep it is. The dock looks probably too rotten to use, but you're not certain. All you hear is the sound of water lapping and the smell of kind of boggy water.
Eugene.
Yes.
So we're here to investigate, and I think Sildaris would like to take a look around and try to look for signs of animal habitation, see if he can get a clue what might be trying to eat halflings around here.
Sure. So go ahead. Since we're doing a battle map, go ahead and describe where you're going and what you're looking for. Like, what kinds of signs might you be looking for? Footprints, tracks. sounds of a call of an animal, that sort of thing. And make a survival check, I suppose. Unless you'd like to think of this more as an intellectual task where you're considering the nature of the ecosystem and what predators might exist here versus literally looking for signs. That would be a wisdom survival versus intelligence nature.
And so either one of them are fine. I think before I start mucking around by myself and maybe making myself a tempting target, I would start by intellectually thinking what might fit the description, in this particular location. Now that I can see it, if animals might fit that description.
Go ahead and make an intelligence nature check.
So happy it isn't a house today. My character's useless in a house.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, this type of environment has multiple creatures, so there could be alligators and crocodiles. Although are the kinds of things that are around here. You've got all various sorts of kind of amphibians. It could be that they got all the way to the lake and it's an actual water creature. You've heard tales of kind of fouler things that in places like this, like green hags, and if the water is deep and vast, it might even include things like Sahuagin, or if you prefer, Sahaugen or Sahuagin, them. But probably this is not big and deep enough for sea kind of creatures. I mean, you probably know like, well, black dragons live in swampy environments, or green dragons. You're not entirely sure, but this doesn't. You're not seeing any signs of dragons around here.
And the halflings described it as, could you please refresh my memory?
Sure, they said
Dragon.
It was. So the person said it was a huge monster, jumped out and swallowed the halfling whole. It was something like a dragon.
A monster that was something like a dragon.
And they swallowed the halfling whole. But you got the impression, I'll give you this one for free, they probably were not describing it very accurately. They seemed to be kind of terrified in the description. It was huge. It was so enormous. It just swallowed him whole. I couldn't believe it. So I ran. It was terrible. It was like some kind of monster, like a dragon. That sort of thing.
Which of those creatures are known for swallowing things whole?
Okay.
Like that's a very unusual description. Most don't swallow things whole.
There's a frog thing
whole.
in Polos, but I can't think of what it's called. But I don't think Shadowpaw would know. Sildaris might.
So I'll say
a dragon turtle.
Dragon turtle. Yeah, let's hope not. So, well, it just so happens that with that 22, I'll say that you have a decent idea of what it might be. At least you do know one creature that does that. Large frogs and toads.
Frogs and toads.
Giant frogs and giant toads can swallow creatures even up to human size whole.
Oh, my.
Because these things they're large creatures. They're like the size of a horse or something, or bigger.
But it's like regular frogs, they're all mouth.
Yeah, they're pretty big. I mean they're like 10 feet wide, so they can swallow a 4 foot, 5 foot tall creature pretty easily.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I had a pet bullfrog that swallowed one of my full-grown salamanders whole. It was eating the next day. It's amazing what a frog can eat. Yeah,
they're like half mouth, and they can fit a lot in there.
And they will.
Like halflings say, maybe.
Mm-hmm. I will. I'll turn and share that back with everybody. I want them to know that we could be facing a situation where, judging by the scenery and the climate, this could be a giant frog or giant toad. If it gets a hold of you, I highly recommend that you have something sharp handy so that you cut your way out of it if need be. Because if it absconds into the water with you, we might not be able to get you out. You could be done for. So if you got something dull, I recommend putting it away for something sharp. Have it at hand. Be ready with it.
Shadowpaw's gonna draw her short sword and also try and crouch. How tall are these grasses? Can she try and stealth walk through the grass?
So the grass changes. So where you are now is just kind of low, knee-high grasses, naturally occurring grasses and weeds, but they give way because the ground itself becomes wet and marshy. So actually, it looks like if you walk up to the edge of where I've drawn these lovely hand-drawn reeds on this map.
I like the reeds.
Well, thank you very much. That it actually is, the ground gives way, and there's actually water there. So there's probably a good foot of water, or maybe 2 feet of water. And these kind of cattails, if you will, are sticking up out of the water. So you would have to kind of splash through the knee-deep or ankle-deep water and muck to go. But the ground is built up where that one path is going right down the middle.
Okay.
So yeah. But the reeds are actually much thicker than they are in this drawing. So, I mean, it's you can't actually see the water behind the weeds. You can only see right at the edge that there's water beneath these reeds that are kind of blowing gently in the wind. And it sounds that you hear the sound of water moving because there's not a current exactly here, but the water just slowly shifts with the wind. And you hear kind of the lapping of the water against the muck and the reeds. So the question is, what are you doing, Milo? Let's hear from Milo. So this is the place that the other halflings were afraid to come.
Milo says, I think you're all being too cautious. We're talking about something that scared a bunch of halflings. It's probably a big tree bark, and then one of them drowned in the water. So he pulls out his scimitars, and then he starts clanking them and walking forward without any hesitation. Just, here, rabbit, rabbit. Here, rabbit, rabbit. Come out here, rabbit.
All right.
Ooh, spooky rabbit. I'm a halfling.
So, thank you, Milo. At that point, something emerges from the reeds nearby. It looks like this, except it's 8 feet wide.
Oh.
And I'll go ahead and reveal the tokens now. There's just one, I assure you. The token here. Boop. So that appears in front of you, Milo, and is going to try to... It's coming at you like it wants to eat you. So why don't we go ahead and roll initiative?
That's big.
It is. These are large.
Are we all rolling initiative or just Milo?
Oh, everybody. Yeah, you'll all want to react, I imagine.
I forgot to do the thing where the...
Click on the token.
Yeah,
That's
but
okay.
I already rolled.
Wow, what a trash initiative for me.
Okay. So for folks watching at home, I'll remind you that folks watching
This
at
is a
home,
lot of frogs you're rolling, Eugene.
there's only one. Just the one. Look at the initiative order. See?
I see one.
See?
And
Only
yet
one.
you rolled 3.
Oh, it must have been the same one 3 times.
Okay, it gets 3 decks.
So I'll remind you at home, folks, that you are seeing the GM's Roll20 screen. So, for example, the little fella that just appeared here, well, you could see that one before they could. All right. So let me grab one thing real quick because I just realized I had the wrong thing up. Okay, there we go. And... all right, so let's see the initiative order. The initiative order is Milo, you win. You are quick on the draw. This giant, it's actually a giant toad, to be precise, has emerged from the water. What would you like to do?
Milo steps forward and has his 2 scimitars in hand already, so he does his one attack and then with this offhand attack as well. So
All right. All right. So they are both hits. So that's 9 plus 7 is 16 damage on this first giant toad. So the giant toad, you cut into its slimy flesh as it bounces kind of out of the water towards you. It kind of leaps out. The reeds go crashing into the side, and it's landing in front of you, opening its big mouth, and you slash at it twice. And, its green froggy blood drips out. And it is, let's see here. All right. Then there is more movement. So the other 3 of you are kind of hanging back cautiously, huh? Right.
So far.
Yeah, so far. So I'm going to say that, let me do something here. Okay, all of you hear and see something moving through the reeds over here, and it tried to be sneaky, but it was ineffective. And another one kind of emerges there, and it's just sitting there, looking around at you, seeming to be waiting for something strangely. All right, this giant toad in front of you, Milo. Its mouth is wide open. It recoiled when you slashed your scimitar at it, but then it leaps forward and tries to take a bite out of you. Let's see how it does. That's a 17. What's your armor class?
17.
All right, so it manages to hit you, and it does 7 points of piercing damage and 5 points of poison damage because it's got this kind of like foul, dripping spittle that kind of rims the bony ridges of the inside of its mouth. And you are grappled. So it's got a good hold of you. All right. That is its turn. And it is now Anthemina's turn.
All right. So against the one that has Milo, I am actually going to be casting a spell called Ray of Sickness.
Yes.
And with this one, Anthemina actually has a what is effectively like a syringe gun. Like she's basically got it so that where it just pushes out a stream of water. And let's see, she will shoot it at the frog. Let me see if I know how to cast a spell.
Do you have a question about the sheet?
Yeah, is there a way to just make it like happen, or do I need to just roll the dice on my own?
Oh, if you have the spell in your sheet, yeah, go to the spell page, a tab.
Yes.
And then you should just be able to click on the word Ray of Sickness.
Oh, and also let's see, it brings me to the spell itself.
So that puts the description in, unless it depends how you set it up. But if you want to just go ahead and get that out there, and then we'll see what dice we can roll. If you click on the Ray of Sickness. Do you see the spell tab?
Yes.
And then just click on Ray of Sickness under your level 1 spell. And in this case, it probably will do just click on the words, actually, Ray of Sickness. And it'll probably just put the spell description in. And then we can see what dice are necessary to roll, which in this case, I'm thinking is going to be 2d8, I believe, necrotic damage.
Oh, here we go. It just had brought up this thing.
There it is.
Cool.
All right. So, let me see here. Oh, wow, that's why. You just rolled minimum damage. Okay. So, it has to make a Constitution saving throw. Okay, so it fails, and that just does it does. And that does poison damage, if I'm right. And let me just double check the spell description here. 2d8 poison damage, it makes a Constitution. And it is poisoned until the end of your next turn. Excellent. All right. So you don't do a huge amount of damage, but you doing only 5 points, which isn't nothing, but it isn't as much as that spell can do. But it's also poisoned, which matters because it will be at disadvantage to do whatever it's going to do next. So I'm going to put a little green dot on it to remind me that it's poisoned. Here, I'll put it is a more fun icon. Let's do that one, a little green drop. All right. So that is. Would you like to move, Anthemina?
Let's see. I'll move over here just in case I need to help Milo in any way.
All right. So, Milo bravely walks forward, challenging whatever monsters are present in this swamp to jump out and face him. One does. A giant toad emerges from the swamp. The reeds go flying aside. It lunges at him. He slashes at it, and then it bites onto him, holding onto him tightly. Anthemina comes forward and expels a toxin out of a syringe into the toad that seems to distract and bother it. What is Shadowpaw going to do?
Okay, I'm not muted. Shadowpaw is going to... Can she get up there, or does she need to use her feline agility to run up there?
No, you can get up there. It's 25 feet or so.
Okay, cool. She is going to run up there and use her sneak attack to stab that toad.
All right. Oh, that is definitely a hit. Okay, well,
Yeah.
go ahead and tell me how you free Milo from the toad's mouth.
So she runs up past Anthamina, and I guess kind of, where is Anthamina standing? I'm looking. Oh, okay. She can't pop out from behind Anthamina, but I suppose maybe doing a sneaky from around Anthamina, or the toad is distracted by being poisoned, and she runs up unexpectedly and just slices it upwards.
All right. Well, you having Milo there as well,
Milo.
even though Milo's grappled, still counts as an ally within 5 feet. So
Yeah, that's why.
Yeah.
That was my plan.
you follow through and just cut open this giant toad, freeing Milo with ease and ending the threat of this giant toad for certain. All right, so you are now standing.
I killed it.
You did.
Oh, cool.
So Milo did some good damage, and you did some good damage, and it was 1 hit point more than you needed.
Sweet.
So,
And then I will use my cunning action to go hide.
okay. So go ahead and put yourself over there up by Milo, where I just pinged,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
move Shadow Paw up there. The mugshot cat is a great image, I might add.
Thank you.
And so go ahead and roll stealth to make sure you are successfully hidden from these giant toads, which is not a hard bar to clear as a rogue. Yes, absolutely. Woo! However, there is another one.
I'm invisible cat.
Yeah, you disappear into the reeds. You duck down. You might get a little wet, I'm sad to say, in that area.
I don't like that,
I know.
but I also don't want my little halfling orc friend getting eaten.
Exactly. So this creature, another creature suddenly leaps directly out of the water, and with one giant standing leap, just poof, lands right here.
Anthamina, no!
And is going to take a bite at Anthamina. $14 is probably a miss, isn't it? Oh,
You're muted, love.
muted. I know.
A 14 just hits.
Oh, just hits. All right. So that's 7 points of piercing and 5 poison damage, and you are grappled. So this toad just erupts. You hadn't seen it yet. It had been underwater, actually, right, in the reeds. And, you were smart enough or whatever not to just walk down the path and have them all jump out at you at once. But this one erupts out of the reeds and water, lands next to Anthamina, and just clamps down. And you feel it's quite strong, and so it's crushing you.
Did you say that some of that was poison damage?
Yes. Are you?
What was the total again?
It was 5 total poisons. You're resistant to poison, yes?
I am resistant to poison.
So you take 2 poison damage and 7 piercing damage from the kind of ridge, the pointy, bony ridges inside its mouth.
Excellent. Noted.
Right.
I forgot to note I have poison resistance as well.
Oh, okay. So you have 2 more hit points, or 3 more hit points actually, because it rounds down. So instead of 5, it's 2.
Yeah, I'm also resistant to all damage, actually, so...
Oh, I see. You're resistant to all the things. All right. Well, I'll keep that in mind.
The magical cat.
Well, aren't they all?
Mr. Mistopheles was my father.
Oh, my. Sildaris, on that note, what would you like to do? So another one of these, you see 2 at the time, right? One is poised on the edge of the swamp, eyeing you, and another has leaped out and grabbed at Anthamina.
So Sildaris has heard of something like this happening. One of his uncles was exploring the jungles of Chult and was fallen upon by a pair of dinosaurs, fierce velociraptors, and so he just does what his uncle did. He walks up till he's kind of in a wide V formation, puts both of his hands out, and says, "Okay, whoa, fellas, whoa, it's okay. It's okay. We don't need to come to blows here."
All right.
I will cast Animal Friendship at 2nd level on both of the frogs.
Absolutely. So go ahead and if you could roll that so I can see the language, because I think they get some sort of save, a wisdom saving throw, I believe.
They do get a wisdom saving throw. I will share the language with you.
And then your spell save DC, if it's not included in what you put up there, I will also need. But I'll go ahead and roll for, this is the left one,
checking there. Okay, I was able to share it.
And then the right one. So I'm guessing you charmed one of them.
Yes, I would have charmed the
right one. The one that was gripping Anthamina. There it is. So you mean it no harm. Let's see. If you or one of your companions harms the target. So this is interesting. I'll be a language pedant for just a minute. It says the spell lets you convince a beast that you mean no harm. I assume those are the singular yous, which means it doesn't necessarily think that your friends mean it no harm. You think that's fair? I'm glad for you. Feel free to speak to the beast. You do have the ability. Although these are, they're beasts.
Mm-hmm.
So you feel free to add some. So you've spoken to it. You've said, "Whoa, there. We don't mean you harm." The one on the left that has been poised, waiting for one of you. This is like an ambush predator. So it's just waiting for you to get close before it can. Right? You can tell.
And I'll put my hand on and say, I got other food for you, fella. Easier eating, good food. Just let her go. Let her go.
So the one that you successfully charmed with animal friendship, you see its eyes pivot towards you. It's kind of looking backwards at you without turning its head all the way, right? And it then relaxes its jaws, or let's say, it begins to relax its jaws. And Anthamina, you can tell that you are kind of no longer going to be grappled. On its turn, technically that would happen, but you feel as though this creature is relaxing its grip, and you, Sildaris, get the impression you've connected with this one. The other one, you don't have the assistance of magic, so you'll have to make an animal handling check for that one to try to convince it that it doesn't mean you harm.
All right, let's see how I do.
Because you do have the ability to speak to beasts, and they're not evil creatures. This is just an unaligned beast, so.
They're acting with their nature.
Yes, exactly. They just sit here and wait for people to come by or things to come by that they will eat. And lately, they've been eating well.
Well, that's with advantage.
Okay. 2 2s. So this one does not. You get the impression that this one still is hungry. So if you recall, it suddenly occurs to you that the story you heard from Thelma was that 2 halflings went missing, but the third one got away. And you think this one on the left is the one that has not yet had a halfling. It looks hungry. And you, Sildaris, you don't look all that big. Right?
I might be a bigger mouthful than it's thinking.
Oh, absolutely.
I've got a new animal friend.
Yes, you do. You have one giant toad that currently thinks you're friendly and is interested in this offer you're talking about. Milo, it is your turn. You have been released from the grip of this giant toad thanks to Shadowpaw's flashing blade. There's another one behind you it was clamping onto Anthamina, but seems to have been relaxed thanks to something Sildaris did. But there's another one over on the other side that does not seem to be as effectively pacified. What would you like to do?
I go for the one that doesn't seem pacified. Pacified. And I say, I can't believe you're not a rabbit.
Fair. Go ahead and take a swing. Oh, that's a hit for sure.
And then my offhand.
That one, on the other hand, is not. So you swing with the scimitar and cut through, doing 5 points of slashing damage. Let me go ahead and deduct that. So you're dual wielding, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so you're level. Oh, that's right. You're a level 4 barbarian, not level 5.
With a level 1 fighter. Yeah.
Right. Okay. I was like, well, you get another attack, but not till next level. All right. Well, not till next
kept thinking
barbarian.
You had a
level.
level in bard because you keep playing the drum.
I know, and successfully, I might add. All right. So that one takes 5 points of slashing damage from the scimitar. You cut into it, and it turns and croaks. It had a held action, which was when something gets within 5 feet of it, it was going to try to bite. So it gets to do that now. That's what it had been doing. Waiting. So 15's a miss. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So it's almost simultaneously as you come in with the flashing scimitar, it tries to bite at you, but your scimitar kind of causes it to recoil, and its bite misses, clamps down. So it is now its turn again, actually, because we're at the top of the round, and it's going to try again. It really would like to eat you. It looks hungry. 17. I think that one's a hit, though. Yes?
Yes, it is.
All right. So it bites you for... Where's the damage? There it is. For 10... Oh, that's right. I had been using the generic damage. So let's just do the generic damage, which is 7 piercing plus 5 poison. So that, because you're resistant to poison, that's a total of 9 damage. 7 plus 2. And you're grappled again. It looks, and it eyes you hungrily. Anthamina, you have been released from the now apparently friendly frog, but now Milo is gripped by the other one. What would you like to do?
All right. Anthamina will kind of come around this way. I think that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep. And will, let me see, what are my options? I'm actually going to use a Ray of Enfeeblement.
Okay.
And this is going to be a dart that will shoot out at the frog. Let me see. I'm going to try this.
There it is.
There we go.
Ah, yes. Half damage with its strength. All right. And it needs to make a Constitution saving throw at the end of each of its turns. All right. So that means it automatically succeeds on the first half, or the first turn. All right.
Let's see. Well, I think I do need to make a ranged attack, which I have not yet done.
Make a ranged spell attack, correct.
Yep.
So for me, that would be intelligence and... Okay, so plus 7.
Yes. 20.
Damn.
A natural 20. All right.
Oh.
So there's no double damage because it's not a damaging spell, but you slam this dart, just hits right into it, and you could tell that it discharges its poison successfully. The creature kind of like its skin kind of immediately kind of bubbles around that area, and you can tell that it's been weakened successfully. In fact, I'm going to say it has disadvantage on the first saving throw because of the natural 20 there to hit it you gotta you hit a major artery or something. All right, so it is definitely weakened, and next time it tries to do damage with a bite, it will do half. And will continue to do half until it finally succeeds on a Constitution saving throw. Shadowpaw, there is another frog biting Milo again. Didn't you just take care of this?
Set me up for these sneak attacks.
Well, there's that, yeah.
So Shadowpaw is going to splish splash over there and try and save Milo, who needs to stop getting eaten.
All right. That's a hit for 19 more damage. Oof.
Yeah.
All right. So that is not enough to put it down this time. Although it is serious injury. You slash into this creature, and the green blood kind of oozes out, and it croaks angrily at you. Would you like to stick around, or?
No, she's gonna go stop getting eaten, and then try and hide again.
So go ahead and put yourself where you'd like to hide, because right now you are within 5 feet of the giant toad.
Right. So she gets.
Or do you want to disengage?
Yeah, I guess maybe just disengage.
Okay.
Since it's not dead. So what? I guess she would just go like there, maybe.
Wherever you'd like. Yeah, you can. Once you disengage, you can move however much movement left you have. So.
Okay, so
I think you have another 5 feet, I believe. 5, 10, 15,
she'll just
20.
come over
Yep.
here.
So you dart forward across the path, slash with your short sword, cutting into this creature's side, and then deftly dance backwards up onto the path, out of its reach. Although currently it's grasping Milo, it could have dropped Milo to bite at you, but it did not get a chance, thanks to your fancy footwork. It is now the calm and pacified giant toad's turn. The giant toad is going to just hop in a friendly and gentle way over to Sildaris and look at you curiously, waiting for the promised food. It's patient. It's been waiting out here for quite a long time for food to walk by, so it'll wait a little longer, you get the impression. Now, it is Sildaris' turn, actually. Whoops. What would you like to do?
So, frog psychology, being frog psychology, I'm going to walk over. I'm going to. Solar's going to put his body to block the field of vision between this frog and the murderation of the other frog.
Fair.
Right. So and then I'm going to say, okay, buddy, I think I got something in my pack. Hold on. Frogs will eat just about anything. I could go and hack pieces of the dead frog off, and the frog would eat that and be all super happy. That's frogs. But rather than doing something that, I'm just going to focus on I've got this stuff here. I'll be kind to it. I'll just go and start giving it rations.
Okay.
Just open up. And when it opens its mouth, I shove my hand down in its throat and release some food,
Yeah.
Aren't you good? Aren't you a good frog? Yes, you are a good frog. I think I shall call you Squishy. Squishy? Hey, everybody. It likes Squishy. Hello, Squishy. Squishy.
It gladly gulps down whatever you'll feed it. It does not try to gulp you down, although its mouth's big enough. Even with your large size, you think it could probably do it. But it just happily gulps up what you offer. Milo, you are being grappled by a giant toad in a marsh. What would you like to do?
I'm going to rage.
Okay.
And then I'm going to try to break free.
All right. So that is a strength athletics test contested with, or actually the DC is 13, and you have advantage due to raging.
So it's athletics, right?
Yep.
Yeah, this is terrible. I am not athletic.
Well, the advantage will help. But it didn't help enough. So in this case, you struggle against this, right? And you almost get out, but this is a strong creature and it's gripping you tightly. And so you are not, even though you're starting to get very angry. Does it look a particular way when you rage, Milo?
His mouth sort of like puckers, look like it's a beak almost. Yeah. He kind of gets a duck face going.
That's pretty intimidating, I'll admit. All right, so the giant toad is going to respond by trying to make a bite attack against you that it is grappling, and if it succeeds, it means it swallows you, Milo. So here we go.
It's nice knowing you all.
17 is your AC, I believe. So that is a miss. So it tries to gulp you down, but you are too angry. You're a bitter pill to swallow. It can't swallow.
Too angry to be eaten.
You're too angry to be swallowed. So you're struggling against it. It's trying to move you around in its mouth to get out to swallow you, but it cannot manage to do so. So you can the acid that you smell, the kind of acidic stomach acid coming up its throat, and know that going down there is a bad thing, but you manage to avoid ending up in its belly. Anthamina, I will say this, it's going to start moving away though. It's holding on to you, so you go with it. So let me go ahead and move it. 10, 15, 20, 25. It actually jumps in a single leap. It jumps 20 feet, which is actually here. So Milo, you are brought with it. So it hops away after it tried to bite you. So it's going to try to take you back to the lake. Anthamina, it is your turn. The frog is fleeing. Oh, it gets to make its Constitution saving throw at disadvantage. And it fails. So it is still weakened. So any damage it might do with the bite, if it's not trying to just swallow, because swallow doesn't do actual strength damage, would be halved. It's trying to move away with your friend in its mouth. What would you like to do?
Let me see. Let's try and shoot it with... I'm going to go ahead and do another Ray of Sickness.
Okay.
And I think this will do me for second level spell slots.
Okay, so
It's
upcasting
concentration, right? So do you need to cast it again, or you can just keep it up?
Oh, do I? Let me...
well, you've got the Ray of Enfeeblement.
Oh, Ray of
going
Enfeeblement.
Right now.
Right,
JK.
I use multiple rays.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, that's my bad.
No worries.
So the Ray of Sickness, is just an instant cast.
Yeah.
So that and does damage. So go ahead and see if you can't a hit with
See
that.
if we can actually do better this time. Oh, that's better damage for sure.
It's better damage, but worse aim, unfortunately.
Oh, you're right. And so I missed.
So it's just the jump, right? You're getting your syringe ready, and as you expel its contents, the toad leaps, and so you're this kind of caustic material that shoots out of your, like this plunger that you have, just sprays onto the reeds where the giant toad once was, and sizzles and burns them, right? But the toad evades your caustic poison. Shadowpaw, once again, Milo in the mouth of the toad.
Hiss angrily and run up there to stab this toad and free him one more time. But I do appreciate getting to use the sneak attack every time. Okay.
All right. Feel free to narrate that as you like, because that also frees Milo by disabling the giant toad.
So as it hops over there and the ray of sickness fails, I like to think that I do a little kitty dash and run underneath its hopping and do a belly slice.
Ooh. So you slide in there with aplomb. It is a sight to see. Milo, you see this all unfold. The one drawback of doing so, however, is sliding underneath it means mostly getting wet, your whole body wet.
I know.
So you stand up, the giant toad collapses in torn asunder. Milo, you are freed, standing there on the dry bank, and unfortunately, Shadowpaw is dripping wet, with kind of stinky, boggy, murky water.
You're welcome.
Hey, it wasn't a rabbit. I mean, I thought it would be. I fall to the ground. And I'm just like,
Not a dragon, but also not a rabbit. So this final frog is giant toad is happy to, as you point out, Sildaris, to eat its former brood mates, I guess you'd call them. There's no moral compunction among the giant toads for that sort of thing. And you get the impression, because you are now its friend and rolled really well on your nature roll before, that honestly, if anyone just comes to this area and throws it some food, probably it would leave you alone.
Sildaris isn't sure though that the halflings would know or understand. They thought it was a dragon.
They did. Well, one of them did, yes.
Yeah, this thing isn't a dragon. I don't expect them to really know the right time to even throw it out or the signs that it might be there. It might be better just to rehome it.
Okay.
An area where the halflings don't go. So that's what I'm going to spend my time doing. I'm going to rehome the frog to a different area in the swamp where it's not going to come across the halflings.
Yeah, it actually shouldn't be hard. The lake, though shallow, is quite broad. So just putting it on the other side of the lake, for example, because they don't need the access to the lake. They just need to be able to build a canal up to the water's edge. And that will just take a day's labor, really, of the community digging a trench, because they've already dug the rest of the system. So,
Doris, I want to shower, and you're making friends with frogs.
Its name is Squishy. Don't call it by frog. That's just not very respectful. You have to honor something by using its name.
why can't you call it Hoppy? Because it could be a rabbit or a frog.
So I'm thinking you understand how names work.
Shadowpaw's tail is just like lashing back and forth.
I look. I'm gonna tell them that they were rabbits. I'm just gonna. That's the story I'm gonna go with. They were rabbits, and we fought the rabbits and the halflings.
It was a big nasty frog, and you don't get to say anything. You almost got eaten 3 times.
Don't blame me because they taste good. It didn't seem to want to eat you because you just made of fur.
My fur is wet.
And you smell.
No.
I would hope that we would refrain from naming random animals in the future, but I suppose it is okay for now.
The animal already has a name, Anthemina. I'm just letting you know what it is. You didn't ask it what its name was, did you?
Nor do I intend to. Let us move on.
The halflings have a shower.
Okay, Squishy.
Barrel of mead.
I'll join up with you in town. Let's go, Squishy. Let's go.
So the Anthemina, Shadowpaw, and Milo return to the village of Edgefield. Sildaris comes along an hour or so later after having kind of coaxed the giant toad to the other side of the lake, where there's just as much small game to eat as there's on this side. It's just none of that small game are halflings. So returning to Edgefield, of course, you were greeted by Thelma Proudfoot, who is delighted to hear that you have rid the area of the dangers to her and her people, and they in a celebratory kind of spirit, agree to get to work on that irrigation system. But that can wait, right? First, they'll deliver the food to Greenglade because they'll need food today, and the irrigation needs to be built before harvest time. So they've got plenty of time. They begin loading up food from their stores into wagons, and they will kind of accompany you, in fact, back to Greenglade if you're all right with that.
I need a shower first.
Well, luckily you have some time to kill waiting for Sildaris, and they are nothing if not hospitable. So they are willing to give you access to their facilities, right? I know that in most Dungeons and Dragons maps there are no bathrooms, but they have them right here in Edgefield. So they let you use them, right? They actually have rainwater basins on their roofs that they collect rainwater in, and they boil kettles and fill a bath and everything if you want to do that.
Take a big bubble bath with a big bottle of ale in it.
Excellent.
Tabaxis don't self-clean?
Not after we've been covered in frog guts.
Oh, that's awful.
Right? Yeah. So that needs special treatment. And the rest of you can... is there anything else you'd like to do in town before heading back to Greenglade? Anthemina and Sildaris are taken care of. I'm sorry, Shadowpaw and Sildaris are taken care of. Anthemina and Milo, if not, we can head back to Greenglade.
No, I don't think there's anything. Anthemina is like, we've already delayed this long enough. We should go back to Greenglade now.
And Milo, is there anything you want to say to these other halflings?
I speak in halfling the great stories of how I helped these adventurers, aid them in our exploits to tame the Fae, to let the dead rest, and of course all in halfling. So I make myself look like I am just the greatest.
Oh yeah.
They're very impressed.
And how I saved the Tabaxi from being eaten multiple times.
Thelma notices. She says, "Yeah, I could see that Shadowpaw, it looked really filthy. She must have been in that frog's mouth repeatedly. That's awful. She's so fortunate to have you. Well, anytime you want to come back, we could always use another strong arm in town to either work the fields or guard the community. So you're welcome back here anytime. Thank you." And with that, you head back to Greenglade. And when you return, you find a heartwarming sight. All the peoples of this region have come together to help their neighbors in need. Greenglade's animals bleat and baa and moo happily. The children dance and sing in circles around you, and the townsfolk smile and offer hugs. The elder CNL thanks you for your help and grants you your reward, a sack of coin and a medallion representing your friendship to the town. But there's more, because you were friendly you solved the problem in Kirkusk peacefully and made friends with the sprites. They arrive, or a contingent of them, and help by guiding they kind of guide the orcs to further trees that can be cut down, that sort of thing. The carpenters arrive with lumber to rebuild the homes. After ending the haunting of Thimblnotch's loom, weavers arrive with bolts of cloth and make clothes for the townsfolk. And because you put the ghost to rest, No one knows how, but suddenly you turn and see a new tapestry hanging from the town building in Greenglade. And on this tapestry is a depiction of your exploits, going to each of the 3 villages, first fighting the fire, then traveling to each of the 3 villages, and finally the town of Greenglade, surrounded with all of its friends and neighbors. And the town happily celebrates that together. And that is the end of our story. So,
Hey.
I can't remember if yes, there is, here it is. The Helping Hands medallion. It looks like 4 hands. I had an image of it and I somehow misplaced it. Looks like 4 hands kind of holding each other in a circle. So here's how this works. It's a magic item. If the wearer takes the help action during combat to assist an ally, then the medallion grants you a magical ward until the end of your next turn. While warded in this way, any creature who targets you with an attack or harmful spell must first make a DC 15 Wisdom saving throw. On a failed
great
save,
item.
on the failed save, the creature must choose a new target or lose to the attack or spell. It doesn't protect you from area effects, but basically, it's if you choose the help action, you get the effect of the sanctuary spell for 1 round.
That's cool.
So that is Helping Hands. Thank you, guys. Well, what we do at the end of our sessions is we have a brief kind of post discussion, debrief. That's I generally invite people to talk about, and we'll move us to our real names up now screen here, to the stars and wishes. So if you wanted to, is there anything you wanted to highlight as a high point for you, and then anything you'd like to see more of in the future? Let's go ahead and start with, I'm just going around by the way you are on the overlay here. Ish, do you have any stars or wishes? You're muted. I'm sorry.
You're muted.
You're muted. I know. It's okay.
Anyways, as for my highlights, I think just the interplay that we were able to have this time was really good, especially with Sildaris, but with everyone, especially like everyone was great. Everyone got to shine today. And then as far as wishes, I mean, I think everything everything was stellar this time. So I don't know that I would have asked for anything differently.
Fantastic to hear. What about you, Jessica?
I really like this adventure, and I think it would also be a really great one to run with like kids to introduce them to D&D, because it has all of the pillars. Like you get to explore, you get to do combat if you want, you get to negotiate, like really there's no class that's bad for this adventure. Like anybody gets to do a thing. And I thought it was particularly cool to see Sildaris shine with Fey negotiation. And I liked having Milo interact with orcs for the first time. I thought that was really fun. And I particularly liked how we kind of, without talking about it, decided Anthamina was the face of the party when she's really like the least charismatic person. But we're like, she's the smart one. She knows what's happening, so she should talk to everybody on behalf of us, and how that affected our approach to everything.
I agree. That was fun. Gilbert, did you have anything you wanted to highlight or wish for?
I absolutely love the 2 classes, the Apothecary and the Cat Burglar. I could just say I would love to see the rest of the series of all of those Tabaxi classes, because that just the Burglar is super fun, and the Fey negotiation. I was like, wow, this is so cool. Especially the voice. I think that was the pin in everything that made this an amazing session. No wishes. Other wishes, just to see more of those unique things that people are creating and bringing to the table. I think it's so much fun.
Awesome, fantastic. And what about you, Connor?
So I want to start by saying I really enjoyed this session and being able to play some D&D with everybody this time. That was great. So on the subclasses that were used today, on the classes, the Apothecary shined last week. in the haunted house scenario. It's great to see the Apothecary again shine this week and have a set of useful abilities regardless of the session. So that was an awesome thing. I want to compliment you for doing a great job with that, Ish. The Cat Burglar brought the right amount of personality, and it seemed to have abilities that really made the experience at the table better, not just for the Cat Burglar, but for the people sharing the table, which is important, right? We don't just play this to entertain ourselves; we also play it to entertain the people we're with. So I enjoyed that. On the adventure, having been involved with D&D for as many years as I have, it's very hard to get exploration right. And rather than trying to get it right and failing, most adventure writers choose to simply ignore it. One of the big critiques of this particular edition of Dungeons and Dragons is that the Ranger is a terrible class. That the Ranger is so much weaker and is relatively insignificant compared to pretty much everybody else. But the only reason why that's true is because the one pillar upon which that class is built, which is largely exploration, is completely ignored. In your adventure, Eugene, you involved exploration in such an organic, meaningful way that you took a character who, Soldaris was out of his element in a haunted house. But you put him in someplace with the exploration tier expertly woven in, and suddenly I was able to do things. I'm like, wow, I'm able to do things this week. It's great. Let's try not to hog all the spotlight. I can tame all. I can sing to all the frogs. I can talk to the fairies. I can, it was really nice. So I want to compliment you for including that as skillfully as you did. I would absolutely, just like playing off what Jess said, I would totally run this for kids. I have ran adventures for kids in the past, and this is one that can be negotiated through, explored through, and talked through with a minimum amount of violence, even if you decided that you just wanted to work on building pro-social skills with kids or problem-solving skills. This is a great adventure for doing that, or for just entertaining grown-ups.
Right? Well, that's delightful to hear. Thank you for that. I'll say some of mine. I mean, my highlight was, sorry to be kind of navel gazing a little bit here, but my highlight was seeing all of you work through this adventure. I've run it only once before for kids, actually, at my local game store for my kids and some other kids in the community before game store's call had to close, sadly. I wanted to write an adventure that you could play the whole thing and have the option of doing no combat and just do exploration and social encounters. And I wanted to give an adventure that really was built first and foremost upon values. That sounds kind of sappy, but I wanted it to be about how you can overcome a Dungeons and Dragons obstacle by building a community, right? And it's just not something that I see very often in adventures, where it's usually overcoming obstacles by all the things we love in D&D, but it's very often those are not the same approaches to problem solving that we would use in the real world, right? And so I just thought, what would it be like to build from a place of nurturing virtues and values that I would like to see more of in my own world life, but in a D&D world. So that was the driving design goal. And it also is one of the things in this Ancestry and Culture Kickstarter of mine, which has, that's the kind of underlying theme, is kind of trying to create better spaces for people to play this game in. So I'm glad that came through. It's really happy to hear that. Wishes, I don't know. I just want more of not my adventure, but more of watching all of you have so much fun together, because that's such a blast when that interaction happens. I'm sure those of you who've worked in classroom environments or have done group therapy or something, that moment when you can sit back and watch the members of the participants talk to one another and you don't have to do anything, like, and they're kind of helping each other or entertaining each other or educating each other, whatever. That's, for me, the money, right? It's like, okay, this is good. I must do that, right? I'll watch. Because I'm a player too, and so I like to enjoy watching everyone else do that thing. So that was wonderful. I'd love to see more of that. Now, the big challenge just is, of course, going to try to do that going forward. And I think we have the ability to do it. So is there anything else anyone wanted to, how about this? Let's end with everybody just very briefly, if there's anything you want to plug or mention that's available. I know that several of us have featured things on today's session, but if you want to either direct somebody to something that you want to buy or direct somebody to something that you think is important. It doesn't have to be a product you're selling. If you want to share something, feel free. Let's go ahead and do that. So Ish, go ahead, and would you like to tell us about,
I hate to talk over you just a second.
Sure.
You might have missed it because of everything going on. Jessica was trying to say something.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jessica. Go ahead.
All right. I just wanted to give you more credit because one thing that I think doesn't happen a lot in D&D that I know a lot of us creators are working to change is the adventurers come into town and fix everybody's problems. And it plays into this like colonialist narrative of like, you need the people who come in. And I liked that in this one, the people in the towns already had systems that worked for them. They just either had more than they could handle, or because of the fire, they like couldn't tend to these things right now. Like, yeah, they could send people to the orc village. They could send people to the gnome village, but you were here, they were rebuilding, they were dealing with their kids. And it was nice that it was like, hey, you're here while we're dealing with all of this other stuff. Can you help? I appreciated that.
Thank you for that. That's a super useful observation, because I'll admit that was not something I consciously chose, but of course, that's exactly right. I agree with that analysis. And so now that's great, because now like I can consciously try to design that way more, right? Which is super useful. So thank you for that. That's really helpful. Okay, awesome. So I guess, Ish, did you have something you wanted to plug or say anything about?
Just my Simple Settings Fairy Tales book that just came out. I would love for people to check that out. Big labor of love of mine, so it took a good deal of time to work on and get ready, and it looks beautiful. Like the layout and the artwork that were done in there by Recursi are amazing, so please check it out.
Yeah, I saw the cover at least that you put when you posted a link to it. It looks really nice. I might have to check that out myself. Jessica, how about you?
Oh, hey, I just had kind of a lot of things come out all at once, but I will tell you about two of them first. Well, I have a Patreon that didn't come out, but I put it in the thing. So there, you can go, and I will, one of the Patreon levels is I'll help you with a project that you're working on. So if you want mentorship from me, come do that. Otherwise, just hang out in the Discord with me and we have fun there.
Awesome.
But right behind my shoulder, if you're like, what beautiful Fae goddess is that? That is the Book of Seasons Equinoxes, and it's for sale in print on demand and PDF on the DM's Guild. And it's a great book. And there are 20 adventures for tiers 1 through 4 in there, as well as magic items and magical creatures, and each has unique art. So please check it out. That's my labor of love, was producing those books. They're wonderful. And more kitties are to come.
Fantastic. Everybody check those out, all of that stuff. How about Gilbert? Do you have anything you'd like to direct our attention to?
No, I have no projects out right now. I have 3 or 4 releasing in the next 3 months, but nothing that I can solidly say like, oh yeah, that's coming out soon. But yeah, some cool stuff that I've been working on for a while, but lots of more playtests before I can release anything.
And if audiences check back to this channel at this time, in a few weeks, they might get a chance to see some of that, right? So definitely do that for sure. Connor, do you have anything else you'd like to call out?
Well, if you could, I'd love to speak with anybody who has any thoughts or anything about the stream. I'm really accessible. You can go to and add me on Twitter. The Children of Sin series released. If you are in the mood for some dark horror, There's a three set of adventures written by some awesome people. We do it through our Iron Author RPG contest, which it was structured to add people from historically underrepresented groups in RPG creation. And these are three of those authors that are involved in this. There is a horror disclaimer involved, so if horror isn't your thing, you might want to avoid it, but that is available at that link up there. In a couple weeks, we have Mayday 10 Day, a charity event online that raises money for charities that are very hard hit right now, homeless charities, food banks, and suicide prevention. If you would like to participate, play some great games, and do some auctions, go to Tabletop Events and look for Mayday 10 Day. Mayday 10 Day. We've got some awesome personalities doing that. I've got projects coming up that I can't talk about. I'm super busy. Quarantine is so not relaxing. And yeah, I'll stop there.
All right, I know the feeling. All right, everybody. Well, it's been great. Thank you for watching if you've made it this far. And, of course, this will appear on YouTube in a day or two. Otherwise, I hope everyone stays safe and well. And we have our next stream on Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern. It's UTC -4. And so I will see all of you then. Bye, everybody.
Bye.